Chapter 31. He reached out and touched the side of the sword that had a thin strip cut off. The master craftsman was much more professional than the female owner. Just by touching it along the way, he could be sure of at least two things. First, the weapon that cut the blade was terrifyingly sharp and tough. Otherwise, it would be impossible to have such a smooth cut. Second, the strength and control of the person who held the weapon were far beyond an ordinary person. This was not the result of a quick slash, but a slow and steady slash. Where's the person? The master craftsman couldn't wait to ask. He wished he could fly to the person's side and ask him what material was used to make the weapon and how it was made. The female owner shook her head. How could she tell him such a thing so easily? Just like the method of making snow candy, the most valuable thing was in the hands. Once it was announced, it would be worthless. The Pavilion of Delicacy will buy this sword back at its original price. The master craftsman was very focused when he was making the weapon, but it didn't mean that he was always like this. He was also an expert at reading people's expressions. He immediately said, "In addition, the Pavilion of Delicacy will compensate you with 5,000 gold coins for the trouble caused." He was a master craftsman and had a high status in the Pavilion of Delicacy. Any weapon could be sold for 10,000 gold coins. He could make a decision for 10,000 gold coins easily. "Thank you, master." Although the female owner didn't care about 10,000 gold coins, she was satisfied with the master's attitude. Seeing that the female owner didn't say anything else, the master craftsman knew that he wouldn't be able to get the details of the weapon from her today. However, as long as they had this broken sword and the cut part, the blacksmiths of the Pavilion of Delicacy would be able to analyze a lot. In other words, the compensation of gold coins was too little. In the future, you could buy a higher grade weapon. The master craftsman pondered for a while and made a decision. "This is a special way to thank you for the information." The female host instantly beamed with joy. This was exactly what she wanted. Were the things of the Pavilion of Delicacy good? That was great. However, the rules of the Pavilion of Delicacy were very strict. Even if one had money, he might not be able to buy the work of a master craftsman. With these words from the master craftsman, Bao Qing Yu Tang's top-notch goods would rise to another level in the future. Who knows how many people would be envious of them? Bao Qing Yu Tang's business would flourish with each passing day. Wang Sheng had no idea what was happening in the Linglong Pavilion. Right now, he was thinking of something else: the eggs of the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipede. The third stage realm female snake had just laid eggs recently, and her vitality was greatly weakened. This was one of the main reasons why Song Yin and Song Laoyu dared to challenge her. Now that the bodies of the two poisonous centipedes had been found, the snake eggs that had just been laid were still ownerless. "I'll take care of the newly hatched snake eggs." Since Laoyu Song wasn't around, Wang Sheng directly discussed the matter with Song Yin. Rather than a discussion, it was better to say that it was a notification. The determination in his tone was very clear. "It's yours." Song Yin agreed to Wang Sheng's request without hesitation. She only needed the bodies of the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipede. As for the snake eggs, what could they be used for? It would take at least 30 to 40 years for the snake eggs to reach the first stage realm after hatching. Moreover, the nature of snakes was the most unpredictable, so it was difficult to keep them as pets. If Wang Sheng didn't want them, Song Yin wanted to directly cook and eat them to nourish her body. Wang Sheng and Song Yin carefully entered the huge cave and drilled through a few hundred meters deep hole without any mishap. Only then did they finally reach the location of the snake eggs. It was a huge underground cave. The space was very wide, enough for the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipedes family to spread out their bodies. The 1,000 illusion poisonous centipede's body was so big, but the snake eggs were very small, only the size of chicken's egg. 8 of them didn't have much space. From the looks of it, they wouldn't be too big when they hatched. Unfortunately, other than the 8 snake eggs, there was nothing else worth hoarding. Thinking about it, it was normal. The 2 heads of the poisonous centipede had been planted with array stones by experts, which meant that this place had long been ransacked. How could they leave anything behind? It was already not bad to have 8 snake eggs. The snake eggs were living creatures, so they couldn't be placed in the storage ring. Wang Sheng found a piece of linen cloth and wrapped it with the mud at the bottom of the snake eggs. He carefully placed it in his backpack. This was a good thing. Perhaps when he returned to Baoqing Yutang, he could sell it for a good price. Song Yin didn't understand, but she didn't remind Wang Sheng. When the two of them were together, she had tried to ask Wang Sheng about the details of the antivirus, but in the end, she only got a few unintelligible terms such as sniper rifles and high-explosive grenades. She didn't know if Wang Sheng was deliberately being perfunctory or if she really didn't know, but she definitely couldn't continue asking. When Song Laoyu returned, Wang Sheng and Song Yin ate snake meat in this valley to allay their hunger. Song Yin was indeed a young miss. Although she was ostracized and suppressed by all sides at home, she had never suffered much. Even when she went out for experience, Song Laoyu accompanied her. She didn't need to worry about food and drinks at all. When it came to cooking, Song Yin was at a loss. Fortunately, when Wang Sheng was in the military camp on Earth, he often had to help out in the kitchen. Thus, he had more or less developed some decent cooking skills. As a result, cooking became Wang Sheng's job. There was nothing in the wilderness, so they could only barbecue. There was no shortage of seasonings in the storage ring. Wang Sheng learned how to make mutton skewers on Earth. He skewered the snake meat with clean branches, barbecued it for a while, and sprinkled seasonings on it. It actually tasted very good. Song Yin ate with relish. She didn't put on any airs like a young miss. Like Wang Sheng, she held 2 snake skewers in her hands and ate generously. The meat of the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipede was really good stuff. Wang Sheng didn't know about it before, nor did he have the chance to eat it. Now that the snake meat entered his stomach, he immediately understood what Song Yin meant by nourishing. The snake meat contained a strong spiritual energy. Although it wasn't as strong as the essence-cultivating pill, it was still food. It could replenish spiritual energy when eating, so it was really nourishing. In particular, the spiritual energy in the snake meat was different from the kind that escaped from the outside world. It was as if it had been condensed by the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipede, and its essence was higher than the spiritual energy that escaped from the outside world. After eating a full meal of snake meat, which seemed to weigh about 3 to 4 kilograms, Wang Sheng could feel that the golden carp spirit had become a little stronger. The effect was almost comparable to cultivating for a few hours. No wonder Song Yin and Song Laoyu said it was a tonic. Apart from eating and sleeping, Wang Sheng and Song Yan's life was cultivation and practice. In this regard, apart from praising Wang Sheng's tenacity, Song Yin only felt a strong sense of pity in her heart. Wang Sheng was definitely the most talented cultivator she had ever seen. Unfortunately, because of a mediocre spirit, he could only stay in the current realm. It was simply impossible to enter the first stage. She really didn't know why Wang Sheng wanted a cultivation method for first-stage cultivators. Seeing Wang Sheng stand at the primordial chaos stance every day, Song Yin was also very curious. Could it be that this cultivation method allowed Wang Sheng to improve by leaps and bounds? Wang Sheng directly through the primordial chaos stance scrolled to her, letting her think about it and do what she needed to do. Song Yin studied it for a long time, even going so far as to cultivate herself. However, she was unable to discover anything earth-shattering from this seemingly ordinary and basic primordial chaos art. She could not find the secret behind Wang Sheng's rapid rate of cultivation, let alone the secret behind it. However, the exercises that Wang Sheng did after standing at the stance made Song Yin very curious. Wang Sheng didn't just simply stand and practice. Every time he finished standing, he would run, do push-ups, sit-ups, and various other fitness exercises to exercise every muscle group and balance every aspect of his body. These exercises allowed Wang Sheng to quickly adapt to the changes in his body brought about by the improvement of his spirit. It allowed him to accurately grasp a series of indicators, such as his strength, speed, endurance, and so on. It also allowed Wang Sheng to have a clear understanding of his own body. These were all important factors to consider when in battle. Song Yin practiced with Wang Sheng for 2 days, but in the end, she gave up. These exercises were too simple, so much so that Song Yin didn't like them. With this time, Song Yin would rather cultivate a few rounds of her family's cultivation method or practice her swordsmanship. It was better than wasting time like this. Regarding this, Wang Sheng didn't say much. These simple exercises might seem simple, but they were scientific training methods that countless sports experts, medical experts, and combat experts had developed on Earth. They might not be any weaker than those cultivation methods. With Wang Sheng's cultivation and the 5 kilograms of snake meat a day, Wang Sheng's golden carp spirit had condensed quite a bit in these short 10 days. Its length had already shortened to 4 feet. Now that the carp jumped with all its strength, its body was already halfway to the height of the Dragon Gate. If this continued, Wang Sheng's spirit carp will be able to leap over the Dragon Gate and transform into a dragon in at most half a month's time. At this time, Song Laoyu brought a large group of people to the valley. There were 2,000 illusion-poisoned centipede corpses. One was 30 meters long, and other than the wound on its head, it was still intact. The other was 20 meters long, and its head had already been smashed to pieces. These 2 poisonous centipede corpses shocked many people. Those who followed Song Laoyu to the valley to move the corpses were all from the Song family. Some of them were arranged by Song Laoyu herself, while others were arranged by the various elders. Looking at the 2 poisonous centipede corpses, all of them were dumbstruck, especially those who knew Song Yin and Song Laoyu's real cultivation. Their hearts were even more shocked. How is this possible? A 2nd stage realm peak and a 3rd stage realm middle stage expert had actually killed a 3rd stage realm peak and a 4th stage realm initial stage 1,000 illusion poison centipede. Was there anything more unbelievable than this? As for Wang Sheng, everyone knew that this fellow was just a foil. It was eldest young miss who had concealed her identity over at the upper Lin Song family side and pretended to be her fiancé to use as a shield. A mediocre, ordinary person. How could he be of any help when killing 3rd stage realm, 4th stage realm demonic beasts? Even if one used their toes to think, they knew it was impossible. Everyone felt that it was impossible, but the 2,000 illusion poison centipede corpses were right in front of their eyes. They had to believe it, even if they didn't want to believe it. Some fellows with ulterior motives had even started to ponder if they should use the excuse of having a 4th-stage realm expert to deny Song Yan's refinement results. Chapter 32. Song Laoyu attached great importance to promises, or rather, he was afraid that any action by Wang Sheng would ruin the successful trial of the eldest miss. So this time he directly brought the gold coins and the cultivation method. The cultivation method was the same as the art of the primordial chaos. It was also a scroll. It was not big, so Wang Sheng could easily put it in the storage ring. As for the gold coins, there were more than 3,300 gold coins. Every 100 gold coins were rolled into a roll, just like the coin rolls Wang Sheng had seen on Earth. They were slightly thicker and heavier, but they weren't that big. There was still enough space in the storage ring. However, after putting down the gold coins, there's almost no space except for the equipment and the snake meat. The gold coins and the cultivation method were the conditions that had been agreed upon, so Wang Sheng did not have any psychological burden when he took them. Now that the things were in his hands, it was time for Wang Sheng to leave. Wang Sheng did not have any intention to participate in the Song family's family affairs. He had already told Song Yin that if Song Laoyu brought people over, he would leave. Now that there were so many people, Wang Sheng did not even say goodbye to Song Yin, who was surrounded by the crowd, and took the initiative to retreat to a corner, then find an opportunity to disappear. Wang Sheng left very secretly. Not many people noticed the movement of Wang Sheng. However, there were still a few people who had been quietly watching Wang Sheng from the beginning to the end. Seeing Wang Sheng leave, one of them quietly gave another person a look. The person who received the look nodded slowly, as if he was inspecting the terrain of the valley, and turned to the edge with a few people, then disappeared among the rocks. In addition to not wanting to participate in the Song family's family affairs, there was another more important reason for Wang Sheng's reluctance to stay. That was, his essence soul carp could already jump in the water, and the lowest point was the same as the Dragon Gate. It was estimated that in a few days, it would definitely be able to jump the Dragon Gate. This was a big secret, and Wang Sheng did not want to share it with Song Yin and the others. After all, the relationship between the two sides had not reached the point where they could confide in each other. Song Yin wanted to go further, but Song Laoyu was always on guard against Wang Sheng, which Wang Sheng could feel very clearly. After entering the forest, there was a trace of coldness in Wang Sheng's eyes. There were people behind him, 5. They didn't help him in the valley, but followed him instead. They were definitely not here to protect him. The Song family and Wang Sheng were not enemies, but they were not friends either. At any time, when Wang Sheng's life was in danger, he would not care about the lives of anyone else in this world. In the forest, Wang Sheng sped up his pace and set up a few small traps. Not the fatal kind, but they could delay the people behind. Although Wang Sheng did not mind killing people, he had just worked with Song Yin. If he could avoid killing, he would. After leaving the valley, the 5 people chasing them seemed to have no more worries. They quickly rushed into the forest. Then, all 5 of them were dumbfounded. Wang Sheng was wearing authentic jungle camouflage. Entering the forest was like a drop of water in the ocean. In the valley, his strange attire was very eye-catching, but in the forest, he was practically invisible. The 4 of them focused their gazes on the remaining young man. The young man looked at his companion and picked up the hollow bamboo tube behind his waist. He squatted down and opened it. A fat guinea pig-like little thing crawled out of the bamboo tube. The young man picked up the guinea pig and placed it next to an obvious footprint left by Wang Sheng. He pointed at the footprint, and the guinea pig began to shake its fat head to sniff it. The young man let go of the guinea pig, and the guinea pig ran in a certain direction with its short legs. Everyone ran after the guinea pig. Along the way, everyone could see traces of people passing by, and they all knew that they were definitely on the right track. After the young man ran with the guinea pig for a while, he whistled, and the guinea pig began to speed up. Previously, everyone had been running slowly because they were afraid that Wang Sheng would do something. However, after following for such a long time, they did not find anything. It seemed that Wang Sheng was only focused on running forward. What did a silly kid like him have to worry about? That was why the young man told the guinea pig to speed up. Everyone thought that they would soon catch up to Wang Sheng. No matter how strong Wang Sheng was, he would not be able to escape the special tracking guinea pig. However, as soon as the guinea pig picked up speed, something happened. The guinea pig's short legs moved very quickly. It did not care about what would pass through the pipe, as long as it could withstand its weight. Just as the guinea pig stepped on a branch on the ground, the young man who was following closely behind heard the sound of something sweeping through the air. Then, a branch as thick as an adult's arm whipped right at the bone of his calf. Fortunately, the young man's reaction was not bad. He could not avoid it, but he managed to protect his calf in time. With a snap, the arm-thick branch broke into 2. The young man's leg was not broken, but he was unable to offset the inertia and fell flat on his face. The pain from his calf made the young man unable to care about anything else. He hurriedly sat up and rolled up his trousers to take a look. It was red and swollen. With the help of his companions, he stood up and walked a few steps. The pain made him unable to walk fast. Everyone thought so in their hearts and did not think much of it. One person supported the young man, and everyone continued to chase. However, along the way, there were 3 consecutive accidents. The 3 people at the front more or less suffered some physical pain. Everyone understood that this was the doing of the barbarian boy in front. After understanding this, the 5 people were instantly furious. Who were they? 5 of the most outstanding disciples of the Song family. The worst one was in the middle of the first-degree realm. They were actually fooled by a lowly barbarian. If this could be tolerated, what couldn't? Even if they had to chase him to the ends of the earth, they would make this bastard pay a terrible price. The 5 experts of the Song family began to desperately use their spiritual chi to protect their bodies, and then quickly chased forward. With their cultivation, if they used their spiritual chi to protect themselves, they would at least be able to maintain for 20 minutes without being hurt by that kind of trap. 20 minutes of running at full speed, they believed that they would definitely be able to catch up to that bastard. However, the ideal was beautiful, but the reality was extremely cruel. The further they went, the more small traps they encountered. They could still withstand a normal branch or something. But when Song Xiao, who was at the front and gave the order, stepped into a shallow pit that was 1 foot deep but only slightly thicker than a calf, the 5 of them calmed down from their rage. This trap was not a trap at all. Because there were no signs of human activity, it could only be said to be a natural shallow pit in the forest. But once 1 foot stepped in, the body still maintained the high-speed forward inertia. The consequences would definitely make one's hair stand on end. Gotcha! Everyone heard that incomparably clear sound of a dry branch breaking, accompanied by Song Xiao's extremely painful scream. That sound almost tore the sky apart. The other 4 Song family members absolutely believed that this was the loudest sound that Song Xiao had made since they knew him. Song Xiao's body had already fallen to the ground, but the calf of his left leg was still inserted straight into the shallow pit. His knee was abnormally bent forward at a 90-degree angle. Even if the others did not have their own experience seeing this scene, they could not help but tremble. The 4 people did not care about their own pain and hurriedly went forward to help Song Xiao up, pulling his leg out of the shallow pit. One of them quickly took out a pain-relieving pill and sent it into Song Xiao's mouth. After a while, Song Xiao's scream stopped. It was obvious that this leg was temporarily useless. No matter how powerful the pain-relieving pill was, it was impossible to completely block out the pain. It was only to the extent that Song Xiao could still bear it. Song Xiao's head was full of cold sweat. Looking at his leg, he was simply scared silly. Was he going to become a one-legged cripple from now on? Fortunately, his companions comforted him in time. As long as his bones were right and he recuperated for a few months, he would still be full of vigor and vitality. What everyone could not understand was it was only a pit, and Song Xiao was using spiritual energy to protect his body. How could he be injured to this extent? Under normal circumstances, shouldn't Song Xiao kick the soil in front of the pit away and then continue running? One of his companions carefully looked at the pit and finally understood the reason. This was a natural pit, but it was not completely natural. In front of the pit, there happened to be solid tree roots that had been cleverly processed by someone to become this trap. This trap was purely dependent on luck. If the person chasing behind didn't step on it, nothing would happen. But there was a clump of weeds and dead leaves at the top of the pit, which just happened to cover the mouth of the pit. Song Xiao thought that this was a flat ground, so he stepped on it and fell into the trap. Kill him. At this moment, besides this thought, there was nothing else in Song Xiao's mind. A rising star of the Song family, a young talent that the third elder had always favored, was unexpectedly played by a barbarian. If he did not kill Wang Sheng, he absolutely would not be able to swallow this anger. Help me up. Chase. Song Xiao roared angrily. He decided to temporarily ignore his injured leg and chase after Wang Sheng first. His 4 companions could not dissuade him, so they could only free up their hands and put Song Xiao on their shoulders, continuing to move forward. But their speed had already become ordinary, and they could no longer rush forward, nor did they dare to rush forward. After a dozen steps forward, a sharp-eyed companion suddenly pointed to the ground and shouted, "Look, there are words on the ground." Everyone looked down and saw that someone had used a tree branch to draw 2 words on the ground. They looked very ugly, but the meaning was very obvious. Stop. What did this mean? All 5 of them were furious. A lowly barbarian dared to threaten the Song family? Did he not want to live? However, the anger disappeared as quickly as it came. Everyone was about to chase after Song Xiao, but they all saw Song Xiao's left calf drooping and did not listen to him. At the same time, they also remembered the pain left by the ambush. Then they looked at the 2 extremely obvious warning words, "Stop," and they were a little hesitant. For a moment, all 5 of them fell into silence. Should they continue to chase or not? Chapter 33. After him. After hesitating for a while, Song Xiao made the decision. He was the leader of this trip and the person who gave the orders. His words were the order. The 4 of them carried Song Xiao anxiously and were about to set off when Song Xiao suddenly added, "Walk slower. Be careful." The 4 of them immediately felt relieved. As long as they walked slower and were more careful, they would not be hurt like this. Everyone immediately slowed down. Even the guinea pig was ordered to slow down by the young man. After walking for less than half an hour, the guinea pig stopped beside a stream in the mountains. After sniffing left and right for a long time, it could not smell any trace of Wang Sheng. It could only return to its master's side. The young man was very familiar with his guinea pig. As long as the target was in the water, his guinea pig would be helpless. Now that the situation was like this, he had no choice but to put the guinea pig back into the hollow bamboo tube and explain the current situation to Song Xiao. The five of them were dumbfounded. Even the guinea pig could not chase after him. With just a few of them, there was no way they could find any trace of Wang Sheng. How were they supposed to chase after him? Everyone's eyes were focused on Song Xiao. Song Xiao looked at the situation and was also helpless. He could only say helplessly, "Let's go back to Upper Forest City." He has to go back eventually. It's a good chance for him to get treated. To be honest, Song Xiao had been forced to the edge of cliff before. He was so badly injured. How could he not want to get treated as soon as possible? However, he had been blinded by anger and pain. He shouted that he wanted to chase after him, making it difficult for him to back down. Now that the guinea pig could not chase after him, he had a way out. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Then, they hurriedly carried Song Xiao in the direction of Upper Forest City. This time, they were not as nervous as they were when they were chasing after him. Everyone's speed had increased. Wang Sheng did not know what happened after that, but he was sure that the people behind him would not be able to get any better. After suffering enough, they would naturally give up. The truth was just as he had expected. Following the stream, Wang Sheng carefully walked for about a dozen miles without leaving any traces. Only then did he find a suitable place to go ashore. Perhaps it was because his spirit was now a fish. Wang Sheng had a very comfortable feeling in the stream, which even affected his movements. In the past, it was impossible to leave no trace in the water, but now it was easy. Of course, this was also related to Wang Sheng's overall improvement in strength. The forest was very dangerous. Even Wang Sheng had to be careful at all times. After avoiding several demon beast territories where he could clearly feel the strong aura, Wang Sheng found a suitable safe place to rest. These were the jungle life experiences that Wang Sheng had learned on Earth. Applying them in this world, they were still effective. The concentration of spirit chi in this area was much higher than in Upper Forest City. Wang Sheng had only cultivated for a while before he discovered the difference. No wonder the experts were willing to open up a cave in the mountains to cultivate. The effect was indeed different. After cultivating for a few times, adding on to the fact that every meal was the unshakable fourth stage realm 1,000 illusion poison centipedes meat as nourishment, the soul essence carp finally managed to jump out of the water at a height that surpassed the dragon's gate during its last experiment. At this time, Wang Sheng stopped and began to stabilize his mind. Although there were times when one needed to break through in one go, but Wang Sheng's source spirit was different. Originally, it was of an inferior grade, but Wang Sheng had forcibly used the legends he knew on Earth to create a dragon gate, which surpassed the common sense of this world. Therefore, Wang Sheng needed to stabilize himself and continue to strengthen his confidence. After a good night's sleep and a good meal, his body and spirit had been adjusted to their peak condition. Even the combat consciousness minion had sensed that the critical moment had arrived. All of his deductions had stopped, and he was only waiting for the moment to jump through the dragon's gate. In Wang Sheng's mind, he had already gone through all the legends about dragons on Earth. After thoroughly fantasizing about the strength of dragons, he put on the most comfortable half-lying cultivation position. His consciousness sank into the source spirit space, commanding his already prepared source spirit carp, ready to jump over the dragon gate. The golden carp had already shrunk to a length of 3 feet. This was the length that Wang Sheng had condensed, and it was also the most powerful length that could display the most speed and strength. From the edge of the source spirit space, the golden carp began to speed up faster and faster, going against the flow of the yellow river in the source spirit space. Like a golden arrow that had left the bow, it quickly shot towards the dragon gate. When it was still a few feet away from the dragon gate, the golden carp rushed out of the water and jumped up high. It adjusted its beautiful body in the air, carrying Wang Sheng's confidence and expectation as it flew towards the top of the dragon gate. That's right, at this moment, the golden carp was no longer jumping, but flying. Its perfect body drew a perfect curve in the air, passing over the dragon gate and disappearing into the cloud above the dragon gate. An extremely large amount of heaven and earth spiritual qi crazily surged into Wang Sheng's body from all over Wang Sheng's body. This heaven and earth spiritual qi was at least 100 times more majestic than what Wang Sheng usually absorbed. After it crazily washed through Wang Sheng's body, it gathered in the source spirit space. After entering the cloud, the spiritual qi gathered at a certain point. Wang Sheng understood that it was definitely his source spirit, but now that his source spirit was covered by the cloud, even Wang Sheng didn't know what his source spirit carp looked like after jumping over the dragon gate. Although his body was being washed by the majestic spiritual qi, he didn't feel any pain at all. Instead, he felt a kind of carefree feeling. This kind of feeling made Wang Sheng secretly happy in his heart. Wang Sheng clearly remembered that there were people on Earth who said that if the more you practice, the more comfortable you feel, then it meant that your practice was correct. Right now, Wang Sheng felt very comfortable. His body was warm, and it was even more satisfying than eating 10 horses. It was clearly not a sign that he had practiced wrong. However, it had already been more than 10 minutes since the carp jumped over the dragon gate. Wang Sheng was bathed in the majestic spiritual qi ocean, and he already felt that his body was unimaginably strong. But the process of his source spirit absorbing spiritual qi was still continuing. With such a large amount of spiritual qi, it was enough for Wang Sheng to use all of his spiritual qi since he started his enlightenment, but it still wasn't finished. Although the wait was torturous, the more Wang Sheng waited, the happier he was. The more spiritual qi he needed, it meant that his source spirit was stronger. It also meant that he would be stronger after entering the first-degree realm. Of course, Wang Sheng was looking forward to the stronger the better. One had to know that Wang Sheng knew his own situation. His carp jumped over the dragon gate could only change once. In other words, his current source spirit was only a 1-star source spirit. It could be said that it was the worst source spirit apart from the mediocre ones. If the carp jumped over the dragon gate and couldn't become a strong dragon, then Wang Sheng's future days would be sad. Therefore, Wang Sheng was now looking forward to his own source spirit absorbing spiritual qi for a few days and nights, or even a few months. It would be perfect if he could become the strongest source spirit in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, expectations were always good, but the reality was still cruel. Unlike Wang Sheng's expectation of a few days and nights to absorb spiritual qi, the whole process only lasted for a little more than 2 hours before it stopped. In the first hour, the spiritual qi spread all over his body to nourish his body. But in the last hour, the spiritual qi was all concentrated on Wang Sheng's face, especially his eyes. His eyes were cool and unusually comfortable. Wang Sheng resisted the urge to open his eyes, quietly waiting for the final result to come. All the spiritual qi in the surrounding 10 miles seemed to be attracted by Wang Sheng's body, gathering crazily here. This caused the spiritual qi in this area to become thinner and thinner. The demonic beasts in the vicinity looked on in puzzlement, not knowing what was happening. A few of them whose cultivation had exceeded the 2nd-degree realm growled in a low voice. They felt the change in this direction and madly pounced in this direction. However, even though they were still quite a distance away, they could faintly feel a soul-stirring aura coming from that direction. The aura was so powerful and majestic that the demonic beasts all crouched down in fear the moment they came in contact with it. That was an aura that made all the demonic beasts who came into contact with it tremble from the bottom of their hearts. It was as if they took another step forward, they would offend the owner of that aura. In an instant, all the demonic beasts knelt on the ground, trembling all over. After a few moments, the aura slowly weakened and finally disappeared. Those demonic beasts who had wanted to pounce in that direction at first seemed to have seen something terrifying. As soon as the aura disappeared and the pressure was gone, They immediately got up, turned around, and fled back to their own lairs. The speed at which they fled was as if there was a natural enemy chasing after them. Even Song Yin, who was rushing back to the Song family with her spoils of war, seemed to sense something at this moment. She looked at the sky in puzzlement, but everything around her was normal. There were no signs of anything wrong. She could only look around in puzzlement and continue on her way. Old Fish Song seemed to have also sensed the aura, but he just looked around without saying anything. In Wang Sheng's soul space, the clouds slowly dispersed. Wang Sheng was filled with anxiety as he waited to see the true appearance of his soul space. Even the little person with combat awareness seemed to be frightened by the aura emitted by his soul space and had been quietly hiding at the edge of the soul space. Hong, a large cloud of qi was suddenly blown away, and a head shining with golden light was revealed. Wang Sheng looked at the big head and was instantly overjoyed. A golden dragon's head with a majestic aura appeared in Wang Sheng's soul space. Everything about the dragon's head was completely in line with Wang Sheng's imagination of a giant dragon. It was also completely in line with the image of the legendary giant dragon that Wang Sheng knew. The carp leaping over the dragon's gate had really succeeded. Wang Sheng secretly shouted "Yay!" in his heart. Then he waited for the body of the giant dragon to appear. The clouds continued to disperse, revealing the body of the giant dragon. However, when he saw the image behind the dragon's head, Wang Sheng was completely dumbfounded. How could this be? Shouldn't it be a long, 5-clawed golden dragon? Why did it look like this? Chapter 34. Behind the dragon head was not a long body, but the latter half of the golden carp, dragon head and fish body. After a moment of disappointment, a legend emerged in Wang Sheng's mind. The dragon gave birth to 9 sons, and it seemed that one of them had such an image, a dragon head and a fish body. Chi-1, one of the dragon's 9 sons. Dragon head and fish body, which was the origin of the legendary carp jumping over the dragon gate, was completely in line with Wang Sheng's carp transformation. Now his primordial spirit was completely the image of Chi-1, which was also the subsequent transformation of carp. Only with this change, Wang Sheng's primordial spirit carp was no longer a low-grade waste soul, but at least a 1-star grade primordial spirit. Not only that, a thought suddenly emerged in Wang Sheng's mind. Since it could become one of the dragon's 9 sons, was it possible to continue to change? Could it change into the other 9 sons? Or would it become a real dragon? With this thought in Wang Sheng's mind, behind the clouds, there was a sudden rumbling sound, and a huge cloud square appeared. Around the square, there were more than a dozen cloud paths, leading to more than a dozen directions. One of them was connected to Wang Sheng's current primordial spirit Chi-1. Wang Sheng counted carefully, including the one in front of him. There were a total of 12 paths. What did this number mean? The dragon gave birth to 9 sons. Shouldn't it be 9? Could it be that these 12 cloud paths were not the meaning of the dragon giving birth to 9 sons? Suddenly, Wang Sheng thought of a possibility. On Earth, in the ancient mythology of China, there were several versions of the dragon giving birth to 9 sons, and each version had 9 sons. However, there was another explanation. 9 was an imaginary number, which meant many. According to the synthesis of various legends, Wang Sheng knew that the dragon gave birth to 9 sons, including Chi-1, Fushi, Swanni, Pulao, Chaofeng, Yazi, Chionyo, Taotai, Wuji, Jiao Tuesday. If he counted them carefully, there were exactly 12 of them. The changes in his source spirit were based on the beliefs in Wang Sheng's mind. Since Wang Sheng thought that there were 12 kinds, then there would be 12 small paths in his source spirit space. No more, no less. If Chi Kiss was one of them, then the remaining 11 paths, needless to say, must be the remaining 11 paths. This also meant that Wang Sheng's origin spirit had at least 11 more transformations. If the final form of the divine dragon was added, then there were a total of 13 transformations. Wang Sheng clearly remembered that no matter if it was Song Yin or the teacher, they had all said that the grade of a spirit was determined by the number of changes it could undergo. If it could undergo one change, it would be 1 star. If it could undergo 2 changes, it would be 2 stars, and so on. According to them, the highest grade of origin spirit was 9 stars. With 9 transformations, this was already the limit. But what about Wang Sheng's 13 transformations? Could it be that at the level of 9 stars, 9 had become an imaginary number? Wang Xingyi didn't understand. However, even if he did not understand, there was one thing that Wang Sheng was very clear about. This was also the common sense of this world. That was, no matter what the highest star was, the more transformations there were, the better it was. Because with every transformation, it could open up a new aperture, allowing the efficiency of cultivation to be higher and the cultivation to be deeper. Since he had already changed from a carp to a chi kiss, Wang Sheng did not bother to study other transformations. He only cared about looking at how many new aperture points he had opened up. Studying aperture points could not be done in this kind of visualization posture. He had to use the primeval chaos pillar standing posture. Wang Sheng's consciousness left the source spirit space and returned to reality. As soon as he opened his eyes, Wang Sheng was aware of a very clear change. His eyesight seemed to have changed a lot. As an ace sniper, eyesight was also the first choice. In the army, Wang Sheng's eyesight with naked eyes was also one of the best. According to the E-type eyesight chart, it must be the highest 2.0, old, or 5.3, new. Even if it was the Air Force's C-type eyesight chart, Wang Sheng could clearly see the bottom line. First of all, it was certain that Wang Sheng himself was not far-sighted. In other words, he had almost reached the best eyesight of a normal person. His naked eyes could clearly see the rings on the chest target from 50 meters away. Eyesight had always been a magic weapon for Wang Sheng to win many times. But now, Wang Sheng was clearly aware that his eyesight had been greatly improved. Looking close, looking around, Wang Sheng could clearly see the hair on the smallest leaf stalk more than 10 meters away. He could also see the stamens and pistils on the flowers at the same distance, and he could even count the number. The whole world in front of him seemed to have suddenly become clearer and brighter, allowing Wang Sheng to see more vividly. The brightness seemed to have also increased. Even those scenes in the shadows, if Wang Sheng concentrated, he could still see them clearly. Looking into the distance, using the distance measuring method with his thumb, he could clearly see the leaves more than 100 meters away. This distance was at least more than twice that of Wang Sheng on Earth. 400 meters away with naked eyes was considered to be out of Wang Sheng's clear eyesight. It was clear eyesight. In other words, within 400 meters, Wang Sheng could clearly see a person's face. On Earth, Wang Sheng could only achieve this distance with the help of a telescope. Was this the benefit of the good hope in the characteristic of Chi's kiss? Wang Sheng remembered that when the spirit energy transformed his body, almost all the spirit energy was concentrated in his eyes for an hour. It should be at that time that the spirit energy completed the transformation of Wang Sheng's eyes. Was it a good thing or a bad thing? Was there a need to ask? Originally, Wang Sheng had to use a telescope to see clearly, but now he could see clearly with naked eyes. Wasn't this a good thing? After thinking about this, Wang Sheng immediately took out the telescope to see what changes would happen to his current eyesight with the addition of the telescope. As expected, the field of vision through the telescope was still a surprise to Wang Sheng. The telescope itself used the principle of optics to magnify distant scenery. The farther Wang Sheng could see, the farther he could see through the telescope. For a sniper, there was no more surprising change than this. The simplest example was at a long distance. In the past, Wang Sheng could only see a very small part of the enemy's body through the sniper scope. If he wanted to aim for the head, it would be very risky, so most of the time he aimed at the chest. But now, Wang Sheng could clearly see the enemy's big head. After calculating the distance of the wind speed, gravity, and temperature within the same range, he could shoot the enemy's head and chest if he wanted to. This change was simply a blessing for snipers. With such magical vision, even if Wang Sheng was in the darkest jungle, he didn't have to worry about not being able to see his surroundings clearly. The dim environment for ordinary experts was like daytime in Wang Sheng's eyes. If he really encountered such an environment, Wang Sheng's enemies wouldn't know where to go to complain. After the surprise, Wang Sheng didn't forget his original intention of returning to reality from the soul space. He stood up, set up the primordial chaos pillar, and once again entered the state of cultivation and began to practice the primordial chaos pillar. The original acupuncture point was still a normal yin and yang cyclone, absorbing the spirit energy from the outside world. This time, Wang Sheng was keenly aware of the existence of a new acupuncture point. The second acupuncture point, just like before Wang Sheng began to practice the primordial chaos technique, instinctively absorbed the spirit energy. Wang Sheng didn't even have the time to locate the second acupuncture point. The little gray figure with combat consciousness had already taken the initiative to stand next to the Qi Wen's soul, helping to transform the newly appeared acupuncture point. This new acupuncture point was on the Qi Wen's dragon head, a little below the center of the two horns, close to the center of the eyes. The original acupuncture point moved with the change of the soul to the center of the tail and the body, one in front and one behind, very balanced. With the experience of successfully transforming the acupuncture point into a yin and yang cyclone for the first time, the transformation of the second acupuncture point was much smoother. But even so, it still took him more than 10 hours before he succeeded. The most troublesome thing was that he had to take care of two acupuncture points at the same time. Synchronizing the rotation of the two acupuncture points was the most effective way to absorb the spirit energy. Otherwise, if one was fast and the other was slow, or if one was absorbing and the other was releasing, this kind of inconsistency would cause a lot of internal friction and waste. After completing this step, Wang Sheng carefully checked his soul again to make sure that there was no third acupuncture point appearing. Only then did he bitterly stop the inspection and stop cultivating. Song Yin and teacher Meng Shui both said that at the enlightenment stage, less than 5 acupuncture points would be considered as an inferior soul. Normally, a spirit of the same grade would gain 1 to 9 acupoints every time it leveled up. However, Wang Sheng had already leveled up once, yet he only gained 2 acupoints in total. He was still at the level of a mediocre spirit. Didn't this mean that no matter how much Wang Sheng's soul changed, he was still just an inferior cultivator? Thinking of this, Wang Sheng couldn't help but feel a little depressed. However, this slight depression only lasted for a few seconds before Wang Sheng's fighting spirit rose again. What was there to be regretful about 2 acupuncture points? The speed at which he absorbed spiritual energy from one acupuncture point was comparable to the effect of about 10 acupuncture points of others. 2 acupuncture points were obviously comparable to 20. Why was he still not satisfied? Another point was that after the upgrade, the spiritual energy absorbed was obviously condensed by the body, and the quality was higher. This was all a good thing. Why was he still depressed and disappointed? This was not Wang Sheng's self-hypnotizing optimism, but the real truth. Not to mention anything else, just the improvement of Wang Sheng's physical fitness during this period of time was enough to explain everything. And this was before Wang Sheng familiarized himself with the improvement in physical fitness brought by the upgrade. Of course, the most important thing was that he had entered the first stage, so he could cultivate some offensive cultivation methods and master the use of spiritual energy. In the future, he would be able to use spiritual energy to attack and defend. The cultivation method that Song Laoyu brought over previously came in handy. At that time, what Wang Sheng wanted was the simplest cultivation method that required the least amount of acupuncture points. Now, that Wang Sheng only had 2 acupuncture points, he didn't know if he could meet the requirements of that cultivation method. However, before this, Wang Sheng still resisted the temptation to learn the cultivation method, and first did some exercise. This time, he even carried weights. He had to thoroughly understand and adapt to the changes in his body first. Then it would be easier to master the cultivation method. After doing all this, after sweating all over, Wang Sheng took out the scroll from the storage ring and gently untied the string that tied the scroll. Chapter 35. There was a frightening name on the scroll, Heavenly King Fist. Looking at this name, it was hard to imagine how earth-shattering and powerful this fist technique was. However, Wang Xing knew very well that this was just a common item that could be sold in a slightly high-class shop. At most, it would be worth 100 gold coins. Families like the Song family and the Dai family didn't care about trash like this. The exaggerated name was just a trick of the shop owner. Song Laoyu also said that this Heavenly King Fist was a fist technique that required the least acupuncture points according to Wang Sheng's requirements. 6 acupuncture points were all that was needed to cultivate it. 6 acupuncture points, to put it bluntly, was the fist technique that just surpassed the minimum requirement of 5 non-mainstream acupuncture points at the enlightenment stage. Then, when it was promoted to the first stage, it would only increase the minimum requirement of 1 acupuncture point. Although it was just a common item sold in the shop, if Wang Sheng wanted to buy it, he would have to spend a lot of time, not to mention gold coins. However, the Song family didn't need to. They had ready-made resources and information. They knew where they could buy it directly and deliver it directly to their hands. Why not? Opening the scroll, Wang Sheng began to read. This scroll was conscientious and not deceptive. It was complete with pictures and was easy to understand. It was indeed the best primer for beginners. The routine and the fist stance at the beginning, even in Wang Sheng's eyes, couldn't be more ordinary. It was open and broad, slightly better than the tortoise fist on earth. It only had a routine, but that was all. Not to mention, compared to the military boxing and military killing techniques that Wang Sheng had learned, even compared to the broadcast gymnastics of middle school students, it only had a little more technical content. Wang Sheng didn't care about the routine at all. He only wanted the method to use spiritual energy. The second half of the Heavenly King Fist was the method to use spiritual energy according to the fist path. This was what Wang Sheng really wanted. There wasn't much content, and it was easy for Wang Sheng to remember it. In particular, these techniques were similar to the method Wang Sheng had used to open the storage ring with spirit qi, so Wang Sheng could easily understand them. Setting up the primordial chaos pillar again, Wang Sheng entered a state of cultivation. With a thought, the little person with combat awareness began to use the stance of the Heavenly King Fist to execute the simplest fist technique, the forward step forward punch. The stepping forward punch sounded a bit like a fist technique, but in fact, it was just taking a step forward and throwing a punch. What Wang Sheng was studying was not this kind of fist stance, but how to mobilize the spiritual qi in this fist. After all, even the simplest Heavenly King Fist required 6 acupoints to be activated. The method of mobilizing spiritual energy recorded in the fist technique targeted 6 acupoints. Now that it had been simplified to 2, Wang Sheng had to rely on the deduction of the little man with combat awareness. To put it bluntly, the spirit qi that originally needed to be supplied by at least 6 acupoints was now supplied by 2 acupoints. Simplifying the acupoints was, in fact, simplifying the route of mobilizing spiritual energy, so it was relatively simple. With the foundation of using the storage ring, Wang Sheng could easily use 2 acupoints to provide the technique of releasing spiritual energy to attack. Many things were similar. The only difference was that storing it in the storage ring required very little spiritual energy. It was enough for enlightenment, but releasing it required a lot of spiritual energy of higher quality. After the nourishment of the spirit qi during the first stage, the quality of the spiritual energy Wang Sheng absorbed had also greatly improved. The density of his essence soul had increased several times compared to when he was enlightened. This was equivalent to condensing the spiritual energy several times. The spiritual energy contained in his essence soul was enough to support Wang Sheng's fierce attacks. Wang Sheng would definitely not learn something like the Heavenly King Fist. Since it was a fist technique, a few sets of military boxing were a good attack method. Some were used to capture the enemy, and some were used to kill the enemy. This was enough for Wang Sheng to display. Staying in this place, Wang Sheng practiced a few sets of military boxing dozens of times, gradually familiarizing himself with the techniques of the spirit qi attack. Even with the help of the little person with combat awareness and talent, there was only one way to familiarize and master combat techniques, and that was to practice continuously. Just like Wang Sheng's marksmanship, Wang Sheng had good eyesight and Wang Sheng's hand were steady, but this did not mean that he was a sharpshooter without doing anything. To become an ace sniper, Wang Sheng had fed him over 1,000,000 bullets to get him to that level. It was the same for the spirit chi attack. Only with a lot of practice could one know the effect of the attack and adjust it to the most scientific and effective attack position, angle, strength, and so on. This was the principle of the saying, "The fist never leaves the hand, the song never leaves the mouth." Wang Sheng did not have much practice now. No matter how much he knew, it would be useless if he could not use it. He could only use dozens of repetitions to strengthen his theoretical knowledge and polish it bit by bit. In this aspect, even the little person with combat awareness could not help him. This was a completely different system from the methods on Earth. Wang Sheng could guide Song Yin in the right and wrong angles of attack, but it was extremely difficult for him to use it. In this relatively safe place, Wang Sheng stayed for another 2 days. While practicing, he also adapted to the new changes in his body. Then, he got up and rushed to Xianglin City. The reason why he went to Xianglin City was because he had discussed it with Song Yin. After Song Yin settled her family's matters, she would go to Xianglin City to meet Wang Sheng and provide him with all the help she could. This was what Wang Sheng needed, so Wang Sheng had to go back and wait. In addition, he still needed to find a buyer for the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipedes egg in Wang Sheng's backpack. Bao Qing Yutang had a good cooperation with him, so he wanted to make a small profit first. Along the way, Wang Sheng seemed to have turned into a crazy person practicing boxing. As he walked, he would use all kinds of punches. Sometimes a military knife would suddenly appear in his hand. It was still the same fighting style of the military. Although his punches and kicks were sharp with spirit chi, they were still not as sharp as weapons. Wang Sheng had to seize all the time and turn himself into a master. The girl in his dreams had asked him to kill her. Even now, Wang Sheng still did not understand why. He could only wait until he was strong enough before he could find out the reason. In between practicing his punches and kicks, Wang Sheng would occasionally take out a pistol and a sniper rifle. His eyesight had improved by several times, and his use of firearms had also greatly improved. Wang Sheng would not let go of such a good opportunity. Just as Wang Sheng was immersed in his own practice and was about to reach Xianglin City, a few people suddenly appeared and blocked Wang Sheng's way. To be exact, there were 5 people. They were the 5 people from the Song family who had been following Wang Sheng from a valley and had been warned to stop by the traps Wang Sheng had set up along the way. Song Xiu's leg had already been treated. Although it was still in splints, after a few days of rest and nourishment from spirit chi, it was no longer a problem for him to move. Apart from recuperating from their injuries, the 5 of them had been waiting for Wang Sheng for 3 days. This place was still quite a distance away from Upper Forest City. It was sparsely populated, but it was the only way to get to Upper Forest City from the direction of the valley. As long as Wang Sheng did not go crazy and take a detour, he would definitely pass in this direction. They were already out of the forest, so it was easy to spot Wang Sheng's outfit. Wang Sheng was immersed in his practice, and he had just mastered the basic skills of using spirit chi. It was indeed fascinating, so he did not pay much attention to his surroundings. Song Xiu, who was on the mountain, saw him and blocked his way. "What can I do for you?" Wang Sheng did not know that these 5 people were following him at that time, but he had already recognized that these 5 people had appeared in the team that Song Laoyu had brought to the valley. He already knew that he had been involved in the internal affairs of the Song family. One of the most important skills of a sniper was to be able to recognize his target in the shortest time possible in a large square. With special training and Wang Sheng's talent, even if it was someone he had only met once, Wang Sheng could remember them for at least 3 months. "You're just a barbarian who came out of nowhere, a good-for-nothing trash. Suddenly, you became the fiancé of the eldest Mississippi. Do you think you're all that?" Every time Song Xiu's leg pain flared up, he would think of Wang Sheng and hate Wang Sheng more and more. At this moment, when he saw Wang Sheng, how could he bear it anymore? He directly cursed him. A disciple of the Song family next to him wanted to stop him, but he hesitated for a moment and did not speak. The five of them had already surrounded Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng was just a mediocre, ordinary person, and it was impossible for him to have a chance to make a comeback. If Song Xiu wanted to curse him, then he could. His injury was the most serious, and it would be too unreasonable to not let him vent his anger. The others also had the same idea. They all surrounded him with their arms crossed, watching him vent his anger. It was estimated that Song Xiu would not only shoot his mouth off, but he would also probably take action. In any case, as long as it did not interfere with the elders' business, they did not care about these small details. Tell us clearly that the eldest mishired an expert to kill the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipede. Hand over the reward you receive from the eldest miss, and we brothers will give you a quick death. Song Xiu slowly walked up to him and threatened him with a sinister smile. Otherwise, we'll break your arms and legs first, and then cut off some of your flesh to feed to that tracking guinea pig. Now, Wang Sheng understood how these guys had been tracking him in the forest. It turned out that they had a guinea pig for tracking. Fortunately, he had walked by the stream and used the running water to cover his scent. Otherwise, he might have been caught by these guys in the mountains. From their words, Wang Sheng could tell that one of the Song family elders still suspected that Song Yan had hired an expert to kill the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipede. It made sense. If he were in that elder's shoes, he would have the same suspicion. Relying on Song Yan, old fish, and himself, a mediocre barbarian, to kill 2,000 illusion poisonous centipede was simply a fantasy. Unfortunately, these guys did not know his true strength. Otherwise, they would not have sent these idiots to deal with him. They probably really thought of him as a mediocre piece of trash. They did not even hide their intention to kill him from their words. Song Xiu limped to a spot not far from Wang Sheng. He pointed a finger at Wang Sheng's nose and was about to continue cursing. However, Wang Sheng did not want to listen to him and directly attacked. Chapter 36. When Wang Sheng was in the army, he understood a truth. Many skills, even if practiced thoroughly in the barracks, might not be able to be used on the battlefield. Every time he shot a target, he would hit 10 points, but there were many people who couldn't pull the trigger when facing a live enemy. What could really make a skill proficient and handy was to put it into practice. Wang Sheng had been practicing comfortably these past few days. Suddenly, a few hotheads jumped out and wanted to kill him. If he didn't use them to test his moves, when would he? Song Xiu's finger had just stretched out when Wang Sheng grabbed it and twisted it. Even if he didn't use his spiritual energy, Song Xiu wouldn't be able to withstand Wang Sheng's strength. Song Xiu screamed when he felt the pain in his finger. He couldn't help but lower his body along with Wang Sheng's movement. Wang Sheng twisted it very hard and fast, so Song Xiu's squatting speed was also very fast. However, this put a lot of pressure on his left knee. His knee, which had recovered with great difficulty, was in pain again. If it weren't for the splint, his knee might have been injured even more. However, Wang Sheng's method wasn't limited to this. When Song Xiu squatted down, Wang Sheng also lifted his knee and hit Song Xiu's face. Bang! Song Xiu's face bloomed. Wang Sheng's forceful knee lift, coupled with Song Xiu's quick squatting, especially when Wang Sheng's knee naturally carried a little bit of the spiritual energy force that he had just learned. Even though Song Xiu had used his spiritual energy to protect his body when he squatted down, the knee still hit him and made his mouth and nose bleed and his eyes tear. This was enough for Song Xiu to faint. It wasn't until Song Xiu fell to the ground that the four people around him reacted. They all shouted angrily and rushed toward Wang Sheng in the middle. Wang Sheng's hand loosened, and Song Xiu was already paralyzed on the ground. Wang Sheng didn't even look at him. He rushed toward the guy on his left who didn't use a weapon. At the same time, he kicked Song Xiu into the air and sent him flying towards another enemy. The fellow on the left was too fast. Whether it was Wang Sheng's own battle experience or the little person with battle awareness in his source spirit space, he was the first target to be dealt with. This was because not only was he too fast, but he also seemed to be the most inexperienced and naive one, making him the easiest to deal with. Because he was charging too fast, he couldn't stop himself. When Wang Sheng used his left hand to parry the punch that he had thrown at him from afar, his fate was sealed. Wang Sheng twisted his body slightly and missed his charging body. Then he used his left hand to push his arm away and spun quickly. His right elbow fiercely smashed into the back of his neck. This time, Wang Sheng used his full strength. The four opponents attacked at the same time, and he did not hold back. His elbow smashed down, and there was a slight cracking sound. The opponent instantly lost all his ability to move. His body fell forward because of inertia and Wang Sheng's attack. He fell to the ground and no longer moved. The one on the right was the young rat tamer. At this time, he had just supported Song Xiu's body. He was about to check Song Xiu's condition, but Wang Sheng had already quickly knocked down an enemy and rushed toward him. Song Xiu's body blocked the young rat tamer's line of sight. It also blocked the angle of his attack, so he didn't see Wang Sheng's movements. The other two could see it clearly. The two of them almost shouted at the same time, "Be careful!" The young rat tamer was startled. This time, he was going to lose his life. When experts fought, victory or defeat was decided in a split second. How could he be in a daze? Wang Sheng kicked out from behind Song Xiu and directly hit the young rat tamer's lower left rib. A burst of pain came, and the young rat tamer couldn't help but bend over. Wang Sheng's iron elbow had already swept across, accurately hitting his left temple. Boundless darkness came, and the young rat tamer still had many questions. Wasn't Wang Sheng just an ordinary person with a low-level soul essence? Why did his kick carry spiritual energy? Otherwise, how could he hurt him? Unfortunately, these questions could only be answered in another world. Wang Sheng's elbow had directly smashed his skull, and also smashed half of his skull. Even if Hua Tuo was reincarnated, Bien Ke was reborn, he still couldn't save the young rat tamer's life. The remaining two were experts. One was at the peak of the first-degree realm, and the other was at the beginning of the second-degree realm. At least according to Third Elder's arrangement, either one of them could deal with Wang Sheng, not to mention the five of them. But now, 3 of the 5 people had fallen, leaving only the 2 of them, especially when the 3 of them fell right in front of their eyes. But they could only watch helplessly, unable to do anything. They were all playmates since childhood, and especially since they were from the same clan. Seeing their companions fall under Wang Sheng's brutality, anyone would be provoked. Because the 2 of them were far away, they rushed over later, but they both took out their weapons. One was a knife, and the other was a long stick. The one holding the long stick was the second-degree realm expert. He was still a few steps away, and he began to sweep the stick horizontally, as if he couldn't wait to kill Wang Sheng with his stick. Wang Sheng didn't care about him, and directly pushed Song Xiu and the young rat tamer's bodies to meet the stick, while he himself rushed towards the man holding the knife. Ding! The man's eyes glowed red, and his knife was blocked by Wang Sheng's small dagger. However, although the knife didn't cut Wang Sheng into 2, the strength of the knife was enough to make Wang Sheng lower his body. The man at the peak of the first-degree realm was indeed much stronger than Wang Sheng in the use of spiritual energy. If it wasn't for the fact that Wang Sheng was prepared and blocked the knife with his arm, the strength of the knife would have been enough to swing Wang Sheng's arm away and cut Wang Sheng's body. Wang Sheng's body lowered, but his legs exerted force, and he used the momentum to leap forward as if he couldn't bear the strength of the man, and was cut to the ground. The man was overjoyed, and with a kick, he intended to kick Wang Sheng away. But just as his leg was lifted, Wang Sheng's hand pressed on the top of his knee, as if it was accurate, and forcibly interrupted the momentum of his powerful flying kick. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, before the burly man could make a backhand slash, Wang Sheng's military knife had already swept past the base of the burly man's thigh, leaving behind a thin wound. At the same time, Wang Sheng stabbed the military knife into the burly man's right ribs, all the way down to the hilt. The man cried out in pain, and his right hand pulled back to cover his wound, and at the same time, he grabbed the handle of Wang Sheng's knife. What he did not expect was that Wang Sheng had already given up on the saber. With a roll, he escaped from his attack range, leaving the burly man standing between him and the second-degree staff-wielding expert. The second-degree realm master was really an expert. Originally, he wanted to give Wang Sheng a blow from the back, but Wang Sheng let go of the knife and rolled away, which made his hopes dashed, and he had no choice but to retract his strength to avoid hitting his companion. The second-degree realm master could clearly see the man's injury. A dagger was stabbed under the right rib, and the tiger fang knife wasn't long. The injury looked serious, but it wasn't fatal. He didn't want to accidentally help Wang Sheng kill his companion. With just a slight deviation, the second-degree realm master's toes touched the ground, and his body was once again rushing towards Wang Sheng. However, this short period of time was enough for him to lose his life. When Wang Sheng let go of the knife and rolled away, the Glock 17 appeared in his hand again. The second-degree realm master's toes touched the ground, and at the same time he rushed towards Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng's hand had already pulled the trigger. The distance between the two of them was less than 3 meters, and the end of the master's stick was less than 50 centimeters away from Wang Sheng. But this 50 centimeters was like a natural moat, and the master could no longer cross it. Bang! A 9mm bullet accurately hit the master's eye socket, shattering the fragile eyeball and directly penetrating the brain. This was the lesson Wang Sheng learned after fighting the 1,000 illusion poison centipede. The first shot of the sniper rifle didn't even hit the 1,000 illusion poison centipede skull, and it was the second shot that penetrated the brain. With the protection of spiritual energy, the penetrating power of the bullet would be greatly reduced. To be safe, Wang Sheng chose to attack the weakest part of the head, the eyes. He didn't dare to attack between the eyebrows. If the opponent's spiritual energy protection was amazing and the bullet couldn't penetrate it, then it would be troublesome. After the gunshot, the second-degree realm master's strength disappeared in an instant. Even though the end of the stick still stabbed into Wang Sheng's body, due to inertia, there was no longer any strength left. It only hit Wang Sheng once, and Wang Sheng used the momentum to take a step back, and all the force was dissipated. This master was very strong, and Wang Sheng was very clear that he was no match for him. So, facing such a strong opponent, Wang Sheng definitely did not hesitate to use his gun. From start to finish, it only took a few seconds. 5 of the Song family's disciples, the weakest was in the middle stage of the first-degree realm, and the strongest was at the peak of the first-degree realm, and one was at the beginning stage of the second-degree realm. All of them died under Wang Sheng's hands. The only one who retained consciousness was the burly man at the peak of the first-degree realm. At this moment, the burly man's ribs were still bleeding profusely. However, he had already used his hand to cover the wound. As long as he didn't suddenly pull out the military knife, there would be no big trouble. Do you think you've won? The burly man's other hand held his own long knife, and his face was full of vigilance as he looked at Wang Sheng. At this moment, Wang Sheng had already kept the gun back into the storage ring. The outcome was already decided, and there was no need to waste any more bullets. The burly man thought that Wang Sheng had already used up all his means and supported his body, and rushed towards Wang Sheng angrily. Sigh! Wang Sheng shook his head, looked at the burly man who still wanted to fight with him in this state, and let out a long sigh. Uncultured people are really scary. When the knife stabbed into the burly man's ribs, the military knife had already swept past the burly man's right thigh. That place was the position of the femoral artery. Wang Sheng's tiger fang military knife was very sharp, and had already cut through the femoral artery. Just because it was too sharp, the burly man's attention was attracted to the wound below his ribs, and actually ignored the small groove on his thigh. But that was the real fatal injury. If the burly man were to lower his head at this moment, he would definitely find that his trousers had already been dyed red with blood. Of the 5 people from the Song family, at this moment, the only one who was still alive was the leader, Song Xiao, who was subdued by Wang Sheng at the beginning. Chapter 37. When Song Xiao woke up, there wasn't a single part of his body that didn't hurt. His face, legs, body, and even his fingers were in excruciating pain. Song Xiao remembered that his legs had been injured, so it was normal for his knees to hurt. His face had been hit by Wang Sheng's knee, so it was normal for it to hurt. Falling to the ground would also hurt. But what was with the pain in his fingers? Or the excruciating pain in his thumbs? Especially since he felt like he was tied up and couldn't move. He struggled to lift his head and saw that his thumbs were tied to a thick branch. His whole body was hanging from where his thumbs were tied. It would be strange if his thumbs didn't hurt. Subconsciously looking down, Song Xiao was almost scared out of his wits. He didn't notice it when he had just woken up, but now he could see clearly that there was no ground under his feet. His whole body was hanging off a cliff that was dozens of meters high. If the rope tying his fingers was not strong enough, or if the tree trunk that was sticking out broke, he would fall down. Even with Song Xiao's first-degree realm cultivation, if he were to fall from a height of tens of meters, he would definitely die. There was no pool below, unlike Wang Sheng, who had a cushion. If he fell directly on the hard ground, he would be a meat patty. Song Xiao was about to scream when he suddenly heard a sound that made his hair stand on end. The sound came from the base of the thick bough on which he was hanging. Turning his head, Song Xiao saw Wang Sheng slowly sawing the branch with a familiar long knife. Song Xiao's heart sank. He was tied up like this, and Wang Sheng was beside him, but he couldn't see his four companions. Big trouble. Why me? What do you want to know? What do you want to do to Song Yan? Wang Sheng sat on the edge of the cliff, leisurely dragging the long knife. Ignoring Song Xiao's attitude, he directly said, "Before I cut this branch, if you don't want to say it, then don't ever say it." Song Xiao wanted to say something, but Wang Sheng didn't care about his actions. He continued to drag the knife back and forth on the branch. It had only been a few seconds, but the cut had deepened. Song Xiao's soul almost left his body. Stop sawing, I'll talk. I'll talk. Song Xiao hurriedly shouted. At this moment, he couldn't even care about the pain in his fingers. If he let Wang Sheng continue sawing, what would happen? I'm listening. The knife in Wang Sheng's hand moved a little slower. Unhurriedly, he replied, "If you had spoken faster, I might have been so engrossed in listening that I forgot to make a move. It's the third elder. The third elder sent us." How could Song Xiao dare to delay any longer? He could feel Wang Sheng's saber moving back and forth twice, and his side was already starting to tremble. Song Xiao didn't dare to delay anymore. He felt that Wang Sheng's hand was slow again. Song, 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 song. Song Xiao hurriedly said, "Song." Song of Wang hurriedly. "Xiao, song." Wang song song. Wang song. Wang. After Song Xiao's explanation, Wang Sheng gained a basic understanding of the situation. Song Xiao and the others had been sent by the third elder. There were a dozen of them, and the 5 of them were specifically tasked with keeping an eye on Wang Sheng. Actually, Song Xiao and the others didn't care about a lowly barbarian like Wang Sheng. However, for some reason, third elder insisted that they take Wang Sheng seriously. He even instructed them not to take Wang Sheng's life. It would be best if they could capture him alive. Song Xiao's earlier cursing was just a way to vent. The third elder had specifically instructed him to not take Wang Sheng's life so easily. However, it was too late to say anything now. He had fallen into Wang Sheng's hands. Song Xiao didn't know much about the relationship between Song Yin and her family, but he had many guesses. It was actually very simple. It was nothing more than a power struggle within a large family. The reason why the elders dared to target the Song family's eldest miss was that the current family head, Song Yan's father, had disappeared with a group of Song family juniors 10 years ago. Those missing Song family juniors were actually the Song family's elites at that time. They were also Song Yan's father's trusted aides. At that time, they made up at least 40% of the Song family's strength. The disappearance of the family head along with the elites was like a bolt from the blue to the Song family. It wasn't easy for the Song family to keep this secret. However, in the end, they still failed to keep it a secret. Losing 40% of their strength, the Song family was naturally treated as a pushover. From then on, the Song family's ranking among the 5 great families gradually dropped lower and lower. Now, they were at the bottom of the 5 great families. As a matter of fact, Even a good-for-nothing from the Dai family dared to casually abduct the eldest Miss Song. Of course, this was inseparable from the Song family's elders' tacit approval. Otherwise, the other families wouldn't let it go. However, the Song family themselves didn't say anything. How could the other families meddle? Wang Xing actually didn't want to know too much about these **T things. It was a big family, after all. It was nothing more than these dirty things. Wang Sheng had never heard of a big family where the father was kind, the son was filial, and the brothers were respectful. As for the Song clan elders, Wang Sheng asked them all in detail. There was a total of 9 elders, and he asked them about their strength and influence. Everything Song Xiao knew. He spilled everything he knew about them. He had no choice. How could he not lower his head when he was under the eaves? Given the current situation, if Song Xiao dared to say a perfunctory word, he would immediately become a meat pie. When he was almost done, Wang Xing nodded and looked at Song Xiao with a strange gaze. Song Xiao was shocked. In fact, in the process of spilling the beans, he had already figured out that his companions were definitely dead. He might still die if he said it. It was just that when he was about to die, he would always think about getting lucky. What if Wang Sheng let him go? Seeing that you're honest, I'll give you a chance. Wang Sheng pulled out the long knife from the gap in the branch and slashed forward. The string that bound Song Xiao's fingers to Wang Sheng's side was cut. Song Xiao had originally used 2 fingers to bear the weight of his entire body. Now that he had to switch to another finger, he almost screamed. But this time, Song Xiao didn't dare to scream. Listening to Wang Sheng's tone, he was giving him a chance. If he screamed and Wang Sheng changed his mind, wouldn't that be bad? Fortunately, he still had a part of his cultivation, so he could barely hold on. In the next moment, Wang Sheng flipped the long knife and sent the handle to Song Xiao's free hand. You're lucky to be able to come up on your own. If you had fallen, it would have had nothing to do with me. Wang Sheng stood up and didn't look at Song Xiao. Don't let me see you again. With that, Wang Sheng turned and left. Song Xiao waited until Wang Sheng's figure disappeared from his sight. He didn't dare believe that Wang Sheng would really let him go. He had a saber, an empty hand, and still retained his cultivation. Even so, it took Song Xiao quite a while to get himself down from the branch. It wasn't until he sat on the edge of the cliff that Song Xiao completely relaxed. For a moment, he couldn't help but feel sad, and tears flowed down like a broken dam. 5 people came out to deal with an ordinary person, but they ended up like this. The other 4 were gone. What was this? From Song Xiao's point of view, Wang Sheng was still in the category of an ordinary person from beginning to end. Even the knee he gave him was the same. But such an ordinary person caused all 5 of them to fall, and they didn't know how they fell. Now, even if Song Xiao had 100 guts, he still wouldn't dare to find Wang Sheng. It was better to hurry back and report to the elders. This Wang Sheng was still too soft-hearted. Didn't he know how to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots? Maybe this was the fatal mistake he made this time. Holding the knife, Song Xiao slowly limped down the mountain. If he didn't leave this place quickly, it wouldn't be safe. Halfway up the mountain, Song Xiao suddenly heard a faint roar of a beast. At first, he thought it was an illusion, but when the roar got closer, Song Xiao's face turned pale. The mountain that Wang Sheng chose was originally the territory of a group of golden-eyed monkeys. Don't look at them as monkeys, they were 100% demonic beasts. They were first-degree realm and second-degree realm, and not only were they vegetarians, they also ate meat. Song Xiao didn't hear it before, because Wang Sheng used 4 corpses to lead the dozen golden-eyed monkeys to another area. This period of time was enough for Wang Sheng to interrogate Song Xiao and then leave. When Song Xiao walked down, it was time for the golden-eyed monkeys to return to their old nest after enjoying the 4 corpses of the Song family's disciples. It just so happened that 4 people weren't enough for the dozen golden-eyed monkeys to eat their fill, but there was actually a moving food here. After a burst of ghostly wails and wolf howls, Song Xiao also completely disappeared from this world. The 5 people sent by the 3rd elder to deal with Wang Sheng silently disappeared into the forest, never to be seen again. Wang Sheng didn't care about what happened next. If Song Xiao was smart enough and fast enough, he could escape with his life. If he dilly-dallied, then his death wouldn't be regretted. Wang Sheng left a way out for Song Xiao, but if he didn't grasp it, then that was his problem. While waiting for his breakthrough, Wang Sheng had already eaten a lot of the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipedes' meat in his storage ring. Now the storage ring was a lot more relaxed. Upper Forest City was already in sight. After returning to Upper Forest City, Wang Sheng would deal with the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipedes' eggs and then leave Upper Forest City. Staying here, on one hand, he wanted to know more about this world, and on the other hand, he wanted to learn more about his soul essence and cultivation. Now that these two goals had been achieved, Wang Sheng wanted to see the wider world. He hadn't reached Upper Forest City yet, but he was already on the official road, so there were more and more people coming and going. Wang Sheng changed into this world's robes. Even his backpack was wrapped in a layer of sackcloth, so it couldn't be seen from the outside. He was just waiting to enter the city and head straight to Bao Qin Yutang. "This brother, it's fate that we met. Could you wait for a moment?" Wang Sheng was about to walk towards the city gate that was 100 meters away when a very gentle voice suddenly sounded from his side. The voice was very soft and thin, but it was a bit rougher than a woman's voice, making it very comfortable to listen to. Wang Sheng had been paying attention to his surroundings along the way, but this person had just gotten off a car. Listening to his words, it seemed like he had been waiting for Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng turned around and saw a beautiful woman. Chapter 38. He was indeed a beauty, a really beautiful one. Unfortunately, this beauty wasn't a beauty. It was true that he was a beauty, but he was a guy and not a beauty. He was a young man with a jade-like appearance. His long hair was combed very smoothly, but one couldn't see much of an aura around him. Just this hairstyle alone was much more pleasing to the eye than Wang Sheng's crew cut. The hairstyle was smooth and beautiful, and he even wore a luxurious hairband on his head. Wang Sheng didn't know much about jewelry and this world's jewelry, so he couldn't tell the name at a glance. However, the luster and style he wore it looked like a top-quality item, especially the face. When Wang Sheng looked at it, a name naturally appeared in his mind, Jiao Baoyu. Wang Sheng definitely didn't know what the real Jiao Baoyu looked like. He didn't look like any actor who played Jiao Baoyu, but he gave off a feeling that it was him. This Jiao Baoyu's clothes didn't look luxurious, but one look, and one could tell that the material was comfortable. It fit well, and there wasn't a single crease. It looked really good, but Wang Sheng knew that to be able to maintain such a smooth surface, one had to pay a lot of attention to it. To make Wang Sheng do such a thing, it wasn't just a little tiring. This person's body was really well proportioned, like a model's body, and the proportions were really well coordinated. Unlike Wang Sheng, who had a stocky build, the other party appeared slightly more slender. Long legs and a slim waist, neither fat nor thin. To be able to make Wang Sheng feel comfortable, he was at least in the golden ratio. He was really beautiful, with a white face and smooth skin. If he didn't speak, Wang Sheng wouldn't be able to tell whether he was a man or a woman. He got out of a car. The car looked really ordinary, but the few people beside it weren't ordinary. At a glance, he could tell that they were bodyguards. Seeing them, Wang Sheng felt an unusually strong mental pressure. Expert, an absolute expert. The one who helped the beauty open the curtains was a beautiful maid. She knelt behind the curtains, and one couldn't see her face clearly. However, the inside of the car was obviously different from the outside, and one could tell that it was luxurious. Wang Sheng, young Master Wang, the beauty spoke again. Her voice was exactly the same as before, extremely pleasant to the ears. "It's me." Wang Sheng didn't deny it. They were already blocking the city gates. There was no point in denying it. "What can I do for you?" "I am Marquis Lu Wan, the young master of the Imperial Treasury." The man introduced himself as soon as he opened his mouth. Then he cupped his hands and said, "It's rude of me to invite you so suddenly." "Wenho, how could such a beautiful person be called Marquis Wen? The same name as Lu Bu?" Wang Sheng thought to himself, Lu Bu of men. Perhaps it was because of his beauty that people called him that. However, the Imperial Treasury? This name was very familiar, and Wang Sheng immediately thought of the origin of this imperial treasure house. There were only two shops in worry-free city that could open a chain store. One was Baoqing Yutang, and the other was the Imperial Treasury. Both of them were competitors. Interesting. For the young master of the Imperial Treasury to find him, it was nothing more than a business matter. Wang Sheng wouldn't reject the other party. Doing business with Baoqing Yutang was business, and doing business with the Imperial Treasury was also business. He couldn't put all his eggs in one basket. The Imperial Treasury took the initiative to come to him. If they could get along, they might be a good partner in the future. Well said. Lu Wenho's attitude was very good. Wang Sheng also smiled and cupped his hands in response. It was a bit rude to stop Mr. outside the city gate. I hope Mr. won't blame me. Lu Wenho was the kind of person who was good at reading people's expressions. He didn't talk much nonsense and went straight to the point. I just don't know if the Imperial Treasury can cooperate with Mr. Cooperation? Wang Sheng laughed. Sure, there's a business right now. I don't know if you're interested. As soon as he heard Wang Sheng's words, Lu Wenho's eyes suddenly lit up. I'm interested, of course I'm interested. Just as he was about to continue, Lu Wenho suddenly looked around and made a gesture of invitation. Mister, there are too many people here. Let's talk in the car. With so many people coming and going, it was really inappropriate to talk about business. Wang Sheng nodded and followed Lu Wenho in his big car. The car was very large, and the space inside could seat at least 10 people. But now there was only a beautiful maid inside. She had already prepared tea on the square table in the middle of the car. Wang Sheng swept his gaze across the carriage. Putting aside the extravagance of the interior of the carriage, just the clothes that the servant girl was wearing were all of the finest quality that Wang Sheng had seen in Upper Forest City that even the upper-class families would occasionally wear. The maid's eyes were smart. At first glance, she was a clever person. As for Lu Wenho, all her attention was on him. She only prepared a cup of tea for Wang Sheng, and the rest of the time, she surrounded Lu Wenho and waited on him. Ling has been spoiled by me. Mister, please don't take offense, Lu Wenho explained with a smile when he saw Wang Sheng's gaze on the maid. Wang Sheng shook his head. How could he bicker with someone else's personal maid? He didn't waste any time and directly picked up the bag wrapped in linen and placed it on the table. After apologizing, he reached in and took out 1,000 illusion poisonous centipede's egg from the pile of soil. He gently placed it on the table. Making a gesture of invitation, Wang Sheng motioned for Lu Wenho to take a closer look at the snake egg. Lu Wenho stared at the snake egg for a while, then nodded at the maid Ling Er. Mister, can I take a look at it? Ling Er's words surprised Wang Sheng. Lu Wenho had actually asked Ling Er's maid to take a look at the egg. This girl must be an important assistant to him. Of course, there was nothing wrong with taking a look. It wasn't anything precious. Even if it was a snake egg, the shell was hard enough. It wouldn't break if it fell to the ground. Wang Sheng's careful movements were subconscious. Ling Er reached out and picked up the snake egg. She looked left and right. In the time of 3 to 5 breaths, she had already come to a conclusion. The 1,000 illusion poisonous centipede's egg is still alive. With this, Wang Sheng couldn't help but look at Ling Er in a different light. Even if she could tell it was an egg, she would have to slowly separate it from the various birds and amphibians, right? This little girl only looked at it a few times and was able to accurately name it. As expected, she couldn't be underestimated. Mister, using the soil from the poisonous centipede's nest to wrap the snake egg is the right thing to do. Otherwise, the snake egg would have lost a lot of its spiritual energy. Ling Er looked at Wang Sheng proudly and said, I wonder how many of these snake eggs are left. A total of 8. Wang Sheng didn't hide it and directly said it. 8. Ling Er seemed to be very dissatisfied. She directly said for Lu Wenho, this 1,000 illusion poisonous centipede's egg is at most 10 gold coins. 8 of them is only 80 gold coins. The master personally appeared and only talked about 80 gold coins. If this gets out, people will laugh their heads off. Impudent, Lu Wenho scolded. Ling Er hurriedly lowered her head, but the look of disdain on her face didn't escape Wang Sheng's eyes. Many people work hard for a year and can't earn 8 gold coins. 80 gold coins is a lot. Wang Sheng wouldn't argue with a little girl. If Mr. Lu doesn't like it, Then I'll go find Bao Qing Yutang. Last time, when the female owner appeared, we only made a deal of 20 essence cultivating pills. As he spoke, Wang Sheng put the snake egg back into his bag. He smiled and got up. No problem. Even if the deal doesn't work out, we'll still work together next time. Brother Wang, please wait. Lu Wenho smiled and stopped Wang Sheng, but he didn't scold his maid. He only motioned for Wang Sheng to drink his tea. Then he said, Brother Wang went through the trouble of carrying it all the way down the mountain. These snake eggs are worth more than 80 gold coins. Unknowingly, Lu Wenho had already changed to calling Wang Sheng Brother Wang. Linger is right. I, Lu Wenho, personally came. How could I only talk about 180 gold coins? Lu Wenho didn't brush aside Wang Sheng's face, nor did he say that his maid was wrong. Brother Wang, I'll buy these snake eggs for 800 gold coins. Young master. When Linger heard that LV Wenho wanted to buy Wang Sheng's snake egg, which was only worth 10 gold coins, at 10 times the price, she immediately panicked and cried out. Brother Wang, how was it? LV Wenho ignored his beautiful servant girl's anxious cries and smiled at Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng drank 2 mouthfuls of tea and slowly put down the teacup. He slowly replied, It's too cheap. Ling heard Wang Sheng's words and her eyes widened. She had never seen such a shameless person. Her master just wanted to win over this barbarian, but he actually took advantage of the situation. 10 times the price, and he said it was cheap? If she could make a move, Ling would have given Wang Sheng a tight slap. Then what price does Brother Wang think it should be? Lu Wenho's face didn't change at all. He still maintained his smile and maintained the feeling of a spring breeze as he casually asked. About 10 times more. Wang Sheng smacked his lips and also casually replied, I can't let you not make a bit of profit. A small stream flows over a long period of time. This is also a good deal. Deal? Lu Wenho didn't even blink. When he heard Wang Sheng offer 10 times the price, he agreed without hesitation. Linger panicked. The snake egg was only worth 10 gold coins, but her young master actually bought it at 100 times the price. How could she accept this? This was definitely not her young master's fault. It was all the fault of this greedy barbarian. He actually used this kind of method to force her young master to agree to such an unreasonable price. This snake egg of yours needs several experts to constantly inject spiritual energy into it just to hatch. Linger was so angry that she flared up at Wang Sheng. After it hatches, even if it grows normally, it will need at least 30 to 40 years to reach the 1st degree realm. The 1,000 illusion venomous centipede needs to reach the 3rd degree realm before it can be considered to have achieved some success. It will take more than 100 years. In these 100 years, the little venomous centipede can't fight. It will be too small to eat. It will also eat a lot and need someone to take care of it to prevent it from being injured by the venomous centipede. Ling was no longer Lu Wenho's maid. She was now a shrewd shopkeeper who spoke one thing after another. It's not worth it to spend so much. Furthermore, it's not like the mountain people can't get it from the outside. At most, it will be 5 gold coins. Ling reprimanded Wang Sheng as if she was scolding a swindler. Why do you have to sell it for 8,000 gold coins? Chapter 39. How dare you, Ling? LV Wenho scolded her in a very serious tone. After scolding his maid, LV Wenho turned around. He bowed to Wang Sheng and said, Forgive me, Brother Wang. I have spoiled this girl. Let's go with the price you mentioned. Deal. Wang Sheng could tell that LV Wenho and Linger were playing the good cop and the bad cop. This was the most common way of doing business. But even though he could tell, LV Wenho's attitude made it difficult for him to be angry. It was very nice, and it made people feel comfortable. She was also a beautiful woman, and it was very pleasing to look at. There was no way he could say no. You can take the money whenever you want, Brother Wang. LV Wenho saluted Wang Sheng once more and asked, I wonder what Brother Wang meant when you said that we can make a small profit. I hope Brother Wang will not hesitate to enlighten me. What do you usually do when you catch a baby snake? Wang Sheng was not angry. 8,000 gold coins was not the price of a snake egg. It was a business. Linger was just a maid, so she could not tell. LV Wenho, however, understood what Wang Sheng meant. That was why he did not hesitate to make the deal. You either kill it and eat its meat, or you use the snake's venom to poison weapons. Ling Er angrily replied. She stared at Wang Sheng as if she wanted to eat Wang Sheng. What a waste. When Wang Sheng heard it was for such a basic use, he couldn't help but sigh. Please, Brother Wang. LV Wenho's smile grew. He bowed to Wang Sheng and asked for his advice. Eating meat is the worst. Wang Sheng did not keep him in suspense. He followed Ling Er's advice and argued. Baby snakes are not big, and they do not have much meat. They are not strong, and they do not help with practice. They are just a little tender. What a waste. Dipping it in poison is a good idea. Seeing Ling Er's unconvinced gaze, Wang Sheng smiled and took a sip of tea. He put on airs and waited until Ling Er's eyes were about to spit fire before Wang Sheng continued. Using the poison sac to temper the poison. Firstly, you have to kill the snake every time. Secondly, directly tempering the snake venom can only maintain its activity for a few hours at most. The effectiveness is too poor, and it's a waste. Ling Er mentioned 2 uses in a row, but Wang Sheng pointed out that it was a waste. Ling Er wanted to argue, but what Wang Sheng said was the truth. It was reasonable, and she had no choice but to accept it. The problem was he'd always prided himself on being knowledgeable. So how did he lose to a barbarian? Wang Sheng spoke casually, but little did he know that LV Wenho was even more shocked at this moment. He was smiling calmly on the surface, but his heart was in turmoil. Ling Er was Marquis Lu Wenho's maiden name, but in reality, she was his most important assistant. Although Ling Er was young, she had a good memory and a photographic memory. Marquis Lu Wenho had specially searched the world for Ling Er to read all the books in the world. As long as there was a record, Ling Er could recite it. Who would have thought that today she would be defeated by Wang Sheng using a few eggs of the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipede? Everyone knew that eating meat was not worth it, but after tempering the poison, it would lose its toxicity after a few hours. This was something that Marquis Lu Wenho's subordinate, who was good at using poison, had told Marquis Lu Wenho and Ling Er. But how did Wang Sheng know? It was not strange that the barbarians, who ate raw meat and drank blood, knew that there was a time limit to tempering snake venom on weapons. But from Wang Sheng's words, it was clear that he was not the kind of shallow person who only knew about these problems. He knew the solution. Actually, snakes are good things, especially snake venom. Wang Sheng took another sip of tea and looked at Ling Er. It was not until she pouted and refilled Wang Sheng's cup that Wang Sheng opened his mouth. Extracting the poison sac is the most inferior method. Since the other party had spent money, Wang Sheng did not mind explaining in detail. Snake venom can be extracted using a simple method. There is no need to kill the snake. Next, Wang Sheng introduced the modern method of biting oneself to extract poison in detail. Wang Sheng did not even mention massage and electric stimulation. This method was enough for them to ponder over. Marquis Lu Wenho and Ling Er were dumbfounded when they heard the method of extracting poison from a living snake. Wouldn't it be possible to obtain snake venom continuously by extracting the venom from a living snake? Of course, the snake venom could not be removed. Snake venom was a type of active protein. If it was not preserved properly, especially if the temperature was slightly high, the protein would denature and the snake venom would become a waste product. Therefore, preservation was also very important. Wang Sheng had also explained this point in detail, and he had specifically mentioned it. If Marquis Lu Wenho and Ling did not care about this, then they deserved to die. Wang Sheng would not talk to them about profound topics, such as protein denaturation. He just told them how to do it. It also explained why directly quenching a weapon would lose its toxicity after a period of time. It was because of improper preservation. There are many articles that can be done. Wang Sheng introduced the process of extracting the poison and then began to talk about the use. The simplest is to use the venom of different snakes to study antidotes. Wang Sheng first explained the concept of antidotes. Don't tell me that your imperial treasury can't hire the best doctors and alchemists. There were simple snake medicines in this world. Wang Sheng had learned about them. How could they not prepare these to kill the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipede? However, snake medicine was too simple. It could be regarded as a broad antidote, but it could not detoxify. After being poisoned, taking this medicine could only increase one's resistance. Whether one could recover or not depended on the physical fitness of the individual and many other factors. Wang Sheng would definitely live in this world, and he would inevitably come into contact with these things. Therefore, a targeted antidote was very necessary. Wang Sheng did not have the time and energy to do these things. It just so happened that the rich Marquis Lu Wenho paid for the research. After the research was done, there would definitely be people who would buy it. Even if there are doctors and alchemists, where can we find a group of people who are willing to be bitten by snakes to experiment? Ling still wanted to turn the tables and asked angrily. Then, she saw Wang Sheng looking at her as if she was a fool. Ling did not know if she said something wrong. Didn't the snake medicine need people to try it? Lu Wenho also had some doubts, but he did not ask. On this point, Ling and Lu Wenho had always cooperated very well. Ling asked their doubts in time. Can you find some mice, rabbits, monkeys, or something to try it? Is the life of your family so cheap? Wang Sheng really looked at Ling with the eyes of looking at a fool. How could such a smart little girl not even think of this method? Ling was so ashamed that she wanted to drill her head under the table. It was such a simple method, and she had even tried to redeem herself with such righteous words. It was really embarrassing. The method was very simple, but no one had thought of it before. Many doctors and alchemists had always used people to test the medicine. Some people were willing to be the test subjects for a high price. In this way, those doctors and alchemists were really not as good as this barbarian. At least in this method, they were far inferior. After all, it is not a human, the effect of the medicine. Lu Wenho also explained with a smile. He cannot make Ling look too bad, right? But at least mice, rabbits, monkeys, and so on have been tried. It is not dangerous to use it on humans, right? Wang Sheng played it down and made Lu Wenho speechless. If you want to earn money from the snake medicine, I think it will be more difficult. Wang Sheng did not care whether the two were embarrassed or not. He said to himself, not everyone will go to the snake's mouth for no reason. But then why do you still say that there is a profit? Ling finally caught a little mistake in Wang Sheng's wording. Without waiting for Wang Sheng to say the rest of the words, she looked up and asked, anyway, it is a matter of saving lives. It is a matter of merit. Wang Sheng rolled his eyes at Ling and said, if it is spread out, the Imperial Treasure House will also have a good reputation. This time, Ling directly became listless, and her face turned red. If she had known, she would not have said so much. He was going to say the second half of the sentence. Who didn't know that if the reputation of doing business was good, the benefits would naturally follow? There are still many uses for snake venom. It depends on how far your doctors and alchemists can go. Wang Sheng still continued. This time, Wang Sheng did not have to stare at Ling and wait. Ling took the initiative to wait for Wang Sheng to take a sip, and then she would refill the tea for him. If you're bitten by some snakes, you will be paralyzed. Sometimes you won't even notice that you have been bitten by a snake. Ling and LV Wenho both had an impression of what Wang Sheng said. There's a kind of demon snake that bit people, and the person would not notice it at all. If the dosage is right, this kind of snake venom is actually the best painkiller. Wang Sheng said another roll of snake venom. Are you kidding me? How can I live after being bitten by that kind of demon snake? Ling stubborn temper came again. She couldn't help but ask, are you killing people or relieving pain? I give up. Wang Sheng had a defeated expression. Did I not say that the dosage is right? If one mouthful doesn't work, then half a mouthful. If half a mouthful doesn't work, then even less. Let your doctors and alchemists try bit by bit. The salt is not poisonous. If you're fed 10 caddies of it for a meal, even if you don't die, you will die. Do you understand what the appropriate dosage means? Ling was listless again. She almost did not dare to look up. She could only desperately remember what Wang Sheng said, not daring to forget a word. LV Wenho's eyes also lit up. Snake medicine might not be profitable, but if this kind of painkiller could be mass-produced, cultivators would inevitably suffer from pain. Who didn't need it? How are these just a few snake eggs? It was clearly a piece of gold. When some snakes bite people, the human's blood will coagulate. Wang Sheng continued to speak. This time, be it LV Wenho or Ling Er, they didn't say anything. They just listened. Do some research. If the appropriate dosage is combined with some other herbs, it will be a good hemostatic medicine. Wang Sheng said another use of snake venom and did not say anything else. They would not understand, even if he told them about cancer, blood pressure, and thrombolysis. It was better not to say anything. Snake venom is a good thing. We can breed a large batch. The young snakes have no strength, but they have enough venom. Isn't it just right? Wang Sheng concluded. It was the final conclusion for this snake venom industry. Looking at Ling Er's unconvinced but speechless expression, Wang Sheng could not help but say, "Little girl, if you are fat, you should eat less. If you are ugly, you should read more. There are too many things you don't know. You should read more books." Chapter 40. Ling Er, who had been rendered speechless by Wang Sheng's previous words and could only listen and nod, did not realize that Wang Sheng was pranking her at the end. Only after she nodded in agreement did she react. What did he mean by "I should read more books"? If Wang Sheng had only said that she needed to read more books because she knew too little, the little girl would not have felt anything. But of all things, Wang Sheng had said that ugly people should study more. This sentence immediately changed the meaning of the sentence. Are you saying that I'm ugly? Ling Er instantly turned from a delicate servant girl who always protected her young master into a female Tyrannosaurus. She almost roared at Wang Sheng. "I was just joking. You took it seriously." Wang Sheng held back his laughter and shook his head. "You really are a child. You don't know how to joke." Ling Er felt so wrong that she wanted to jump into her young master's arms and cry for comfort. It was Wang Sheng who said that she didn't know, and then he said that she was ugly, and then he said that she couldn't take a joke. But why did she always feel that she was in the wrong? "All right, Ling Er, you're a beauty." LV Wenho could not stand it anymore, but he could not get angry at Wang Sheng, who had just given him a big business. He could only comfort Ling Er. "You're not a match for Brother Wang. You're far from it. It is not wrong to lose." It had to be said that LV Wenho had a way. With just a few words, he made Ling Er smile. Wang Sheng kept looking at Ling Er. Actually, LV Wenho only needed one sentence to make Ling Er happy. "You are a beauty." This girl really had ulterior motives towards his young master. "Thank you, Brother Wang, for your guidance." Turning around, LV Wenho cupped his hands at Wang Sheng. "To be honest, I have seen many demonic snakes among the demonic beasts, but I never thought that there would be such a big business. I am just saying it, and you should also listen to it." Wang Sheng waved his hand. "You still need to find a doctor and an alchemist to test it. You also need to invest a lot in raising all kinds of demonic snakes. 8,000 gold coins, half selling and half giving. Take it as a start. Our imperial treasury has made a huge profit this time." Wang Sheng's words weren't polite at all. Lu Wenho understood just how great of a profit there was in this, so he didn't feel that Wang Sheng was being arrogant at all. Instead, he sincerely thanked him. "I still have a small gift to give to you. Consider my thanks for Brother Wang's guidance." Ling Er had recovered by now. She glared at Wang Sheng, stood up, and walked out of the car. He brought in a large tray and placed it in front of Wang Sheng. The large tray was covered with red silk. From the looks of it, it looked like several spherical objects. At the same time, Wang Sheng could smell a thick stench of blood. Ling Er put down the tray, covered her nose, and retreated to LV Wenho's side. Casually lifting a corner of the red silk, Wang Sheng saw what was inside. As Wang Sheng had expected, there were 4 heads on the tray. It seemed that they had been cut not long ago, and the blood had not completely coagulated. From this sign, it seemed that after Wang Sheng and LV Wenho entered the car and began to talk, the people outside started to kill. It was even possible that it started after LV Wenho and Wang Sheng made a deal. He had planned this a long time ago to curry favor with Wang Sheng. The four heads were very unfamiliar, and Wang Sheng was sure that he had never seen them before. For a sniper ace like him, he knew at a glance. There was no need to open it again. There was also Linger here. She would definitely not be willing to see such a bloody scene. These four are from the Dai family. LV Wenho waited for Wang Sheng to look at them before waving his hand to let Linger take the large tray out. He explained to Wang Sheng, Brother Wang should not have seen them before. They came to kill Brother Wang and happened to be met by my people. It can be considered as saving Brother Wang a little trouble. The Dai family wanted to kill Wang Sheng. It was naturally because of Dai Huan. Wang Sheng believed that LV Wenho did not need to use other families' heads to pretend to be from the Dai family. Moreover, Wang Sheng had just seen that there was a lapel in front of each head, and on it was the Dai family's mark that Wang Sheng had seen in the weapons of Dai Huan and the guards. It had to be said that this gift was not light. At least LV Wenho, the young master of the Imperial Treasury, used the Dai family's heads to show that they were on the side of Wang Sheng. Thank you very much. Wang Sheng was not pretentious. LV Wenho had killed a few Dai family members for him, and he had to be grateful. In fact, there is another one from the Dai family, but he is not with them. I don't know where he went. LV Wenho smiled apologetically. Otherwise, I would have killed him together. I came in a hurry and couldn't help Mr. clean up the mess. It is my fault. Well said. What else could Wang Sheng say? He knew there was another one, but couldn't find him. How is this possible? Maybe the remaining one was to prove that the four people were killed by Wang Sheng and had nothing to do with the Imperial Treasury. The means of a businessman must be to get out of the matter, and it was best to make money from both sides, right? The cooperation was reached, and Wang Sheng also happily accepted the gift. Naturally, everyone was happy. LV Wenho originally wanted to give Wang Sheng 8,000 gold coins directly, but Wang Sheng refused and directly asked LV Wenho to exchange it for medicinal pills of the same value. In this world, it was inevitable to use medicinal pills for cultivation. It was easier than carrying hundreds of pounds of gold coins, and it didn't take up space. As for pocket money, the 3,000 gold coins that Wang Sheng got from the Song family were enough for him to spend. When he needed a lot of money in the future, he could simply sell an idea. There was no need to bring a large number of gold coins. When Wang Sheng got out of the car, he found that more than an hour had passed. When he came here, there were people passing by one after another, but now, except for the car and some guards of the Imperial Treasury, there was no one else. LV Wenho took his leave with a smile on his face. The group quickly disappeared in their carriages. Soon, only LV Wenho was left. Beside him was an empty backpack, as well as a large bundle wrapped in red silk. Inside the bundle were 4 heads of the Dai family. Good means. Wang Sheng believed that no one in Xianglin City would know that the young master of the Imperial Treasury had appeared here not long ago, and even those who passed by before might be LV Wenho's people. But in the near future, everyone would definitely see him carrying a parcel containing 4 heads of the Dai family into Xianglin City. Therefore, the gift was given by LV Wenho, but the blame still had to be borne by Wang Sheng himself. But it didn't matter. Wang Sheng never thought that after he killed Dai Huan, the Dai family would still drink and chat with him. As LV Wenho said, it only reduced Wang Sheng's troubles a little. Even if he did not do it, Wang Sheng would not let these 4 people go. The Dai family came to Xianglin City. Besides dealing with him, Wang Sheng could not think of any other purpose. LV Wenho said that there was one more. It was possible that LV Wenho deliberately left it behind to test him. Wang Sheng shook his head. These businessmen had too many twists and turns in their minds. No wonder each and every one of them was doing well in business, even opening a branch in Carefree City. None of them were easy to deal with. With such a stop, it was still afternoon when he arrived, but it was already dusk when he entered the city. When Wang Sheng walked to the street of his small courtyard, the sky was basically dark. There were no people on the street, but Wang Sheng could vaguely see some people from the surrounding courtyards. This was also a new ability brought to Wang Sheng after the Soul Kiss transformation. It was not obvious at first, but after a few days, it was very obvious. It was like Wang Sheng's eyes had an infrared function, but it was not that exaggerated. From afar, Wang Sheng could see some warm-blooded animals coming out of the light circle. But it was only a general idea. He could not determine their appearance, nor could he determine their location. He could only determine a direction from afar. Especially at night, it was even more obvious. When he discovered this, Wang Sheng was simply overjoyed. This was practically giving him a human-shaped radar. At the very least, he would have a greater guarantee of safety. There was nothing that could make Wang Sheng more ecstatic than this change. Wang Sheng glanced at his courtyard from the street. When he focused, he immediately discovered that there was a trace of human presence in his courtyard. There were people inside. With a thought, an infrared telescope appeared in Wang Sheng's hand. This world could not be charged, but when it was fully charged before he set off, the infrared telescope could only be used for a few moments, and the electricity inside was enough for him to use for a long time. The telescope was professional, and it was easy to see that there was indeed a person in his courtyard. That person seemed to be very confident in his concealment skills, and actually used an extremely exaggerated posture to hide on the beam of his room. Looking at the posture that could explode at any time, he should be waiting for Wang Sheng to come back and immediately make a move. This must be the remaining person of the Dai family. There was a basis for this. Although this was the location of the Song family in Shanglin, the Song family would only want the wealth in his hands and brain and would never come up to take his life. Since someone wanted to play this kind of trick, Wang Sheng did not mind playing with him. Wang Sheng clearly remembered the places he passed along the way, and Wang Sheng quickly turned around and, after a while, returned here. However, there was already a big bag in Wang Sheng's hand. Inside was quicklime, which he found somewhere along the way, and Wang Sheng specially ground it in a fine powder and mixed it with a bag of pepper, which was unique to this world and similar to Earth. He opened the door with a normal sound, entered the courtyard, and walked at a normal pace to the door of the house. On Wang Sheng's face, a pair of goggles suddenly appeared, and there was a protective mask on his mouth and nose, and a helmet on his head. The expert in the room was Fourth Master Dai's subordinate, and Fourth Master Dai had said that he would personally bring Wang Sheng's head back. He had hidden himself very well, and had arrived here 2 days ago without alerting anyone. Even the 4 companions he had brought along didn't know. Hearing the sound of Wang Sheng opening the courtyard door and walking to the door of the room, Dai family's second-degree realm peak expert couldn't help but gripped his dagger tightly, waiting for Wang Sheng to enter the door, and then he would take action from the high ground. The door opened, but Wang Sheng didn't enter. A cloud of white fog suddenly exploded and instantly filled the entire room. There was a pungent smell inside, and just smelling it made one want to sneeze violently. The Dai family's guard on the beam was shocked. How did he discover him? Chapter 41. If he was discovered, then the sneak attack tactic would fail. But the guard did not dare to rush out immediately. Young Master Huan and a few of his guards had been killed by Wang Sheng's super powerful hidden weapons. It was still all right if they hid in the house. If Wang Sheng did not rush in, there was no way to make a move. If he rushed out, even 2 of them would not be enough to kill him. Sensing that something was wrong, the guard immediately held his breath and closed his eyes. But it was a little too late. Not to mention the fact that the lime powder had closed his eyes. The lime powder mixed with the pepper powder was very annoying. Just a little bit of pepper mixed with lime powder entered his nostrils, and the guard had a strong urge to sneeze. The more he endured, the stronger the urge became. Finally, he could not resist it. He yawned, and a big sneeze came out. Once he sneezed, it would be a joke to say that he held his breath. And with such a loud sound, it would definitely expose his position. Although he did not know how Wang Sheng knew that there was someone in the house, but the guard dared to say that Wang Sheng did not know his position in the house. Now that his position was exposed, the guard hurriedly dodged and jumped down from the beam of the roof without thinking. He subconsciously took a breath, yawned, and sneezed again. What kind of dirty tricks were these? The guard now had the intention to kill Wang Sheng. Even if he was here to kill Wang Sheng, it was because of an order. This time, his killing intent was really aimed at the embarrassment that Wang Sheng had brought him. Even with his eyes closed and sneezing nonstop, the guard could still hear the sound of footsteps landing on the floor. Wang Sheng had also entered the room. This was courting death. The guard was confident that with his second-degree realm power, dealing with a mediocre ordinary person was a piece of cake. Wang Sheng, this barbarian, thought that just by using lime powder and pepper powder to make him close his eyes, he would have a chance. Ordinary people did not know what a second-degree realm expert meant. Even without using their eyes, just using their ears, the guards could clearly hear Wang Sheng's position and what he was going to do. The strange thing was that Wang Sheng seemed to have only taken one step forward, and then there was no sound. Furthermore, the guards could not hear Wang Sheng's breathing. Needless to say, Wang Sheng must have held his breath from the beginning. The guard took it for granted, but he did not know that with the goggles and mask, Wang Sheng could still see clearly. Ever since the Soul Seal transformation, this kind of dark weather, in Wang Sheng's eyes, was no different from daytime. The sound of Wang Sheng's breathing could not be heard. It was all hidden under the mask. Wang Sheng's breathing was not rapid, so the guard thought that Wang Sheng was holding his breath like him. Since there was only one footstep, Wang Sheng must be standing at the door. The guard knew that if he was hit, he would definitely sneeze nonstop. So without any hesitation, he rushed towards the direction where he heard the sound and stabbed his sword. Chi! The guard's sword was very sharp, and when it touched something, the tip of the sword let out a light sound as it pierced through something. From the feel of it, it should be a head. This guard of the Dai family had followed Fourth Master Dai, C, to kill many people, so he could distinguish the feel of his sword. The sword was effective, and the guard was secretly delighted, but he could not help but sneeze again. When he sneezed for the second time, he opened his mouth and unconsciously raised his head. Pain came from his neck. It was a sharp blade. The guard's reaction had to be said to be extremely fast. His body flashed, and he managed to avoid the misfortune of being stabbed in the neck. But even so, his neck was slashed with a long gash. Yawn. It was another yawn caused by unconsciously breathing. But in the midst of the yawn, there was a continuous hissing sound, as if air was leaking somewhere. The guard's hand pressed on the left side of his neck. That slender, long gash on his neck didn't look like much, but the blood which was gushing out didn't stop. Wang Sheng had already stopped moving and stood quietly by the side, coldly looking at this enemy, whose carotid artery had been slashed open. With this kind of injury, he could only live for a while. If the bleeding wasn't stopped in time, there was only death waiting for him. Yawn. The guard sneezed again, and the energy in his body seemed to be spurting out from his body along with the thin strands of blood. Both his legs turned soft as he knelt onto the ground. Following, there was another yawn, and then he fell head first onto the ground, not making any more movements. A second-stage realm top expert, because his position was known in advance, died in such a useless manner under the double attack of lime powder and pepper powder. Under the uncontrollable sneezing sounds, mucus flowed from his nose and tears. He died a humiliating death in this small room. Until his death, this Dai family's top expert guard couldn't believe it. His sword had obviously pierced through Wang Sheng's head. So how could Wang Sheng still have the ability to retaliate? If he could see, he would definitely discover that his sword had indeed pierced through a head, but it wasn't Wang Sheng's head, but one of the 4 heads that Wang Sheng had brought back. LV Wenho's gift to him was also the head of this guard's comrade. On the same street as Wang Sheng's courtyard, in a room 2 courtyards away, there were 3 people lying on the bed. Even if Wang Sheng used an infrared telescope to observe, he wouldn't discover anything unusual about these 3 people. But if he were to enter the room and observe from a close distance, he would definitely discover that all 3 of their eyes were wide open. Not only that, there was a black-robed, burly man leaning against the wall, wearing an extremely strange pot-like thing on his head, which looked like a small-scale radar on Earth. They've started. What's the sword pierced? The Dai family's top expert has fallen. If Wang Sheng were here, he would definitely be able to hear that every time this black-robed, burly man spoke, it was the moment when Wang Sheng and that guard made the sound. Although the black-robed, burly man didn't see the fight with his own eyes, but it was as if he had seen it, describing the movements of both sides very clearly. Next to the black-robed burly man, there was also another burly man, but the only difference was that he was wearing a gray robe. As he listened, his face was full of surprise. "Aki, aren't we going to do it?" The gray-robed burly man was the strongest among the three people, and he was much taller than the black-robed burly man, just lying down. At first glance, one could tell that he was a strength-type expert. "Why should we do it?" The one called Aki was the only one among the three who was lying down, the one who was relatively far away. As soon as she opened her mouth, her voice was very crisp and sweet, and it was a woman. "Killing him will not be a small reward." The gray-robed burly man lowered his voice and asked very directly, "Big Bear, killing him is only a few dozen gold coins. But if we don't kill him," Aki smiled faintly and explained, "we will be able to see the Dai family and the Song family fight. How can we miss such a good opportunity?" "The Dai family doesn't know." The big-breasted woman was a little unconvinced and argued, "Who would care about a few small characters dying outside? Won't we spread the news?" Half lying down, Aki used the dagger in her hand to carefully trim her nails and smiled. Big Bear mumbled a few times and said nothing else. The black-robed, burly man with the antenna on his head was still listening to the movements over there. The three of them spoke very softly and could only be heard clearly in this small room, but not a trace of it could be heard outside. Under the not too bright moonlight, the moonlight shining in through the window shone on Aki's body, casting a long and slender shadow on the ground, so beautiful and long. The room could not be used, but now that Wang Sheng had money and all his belongings were with him, it was convenient to go anywhere. He found a guest room in the largest inn in Shanglin City and simply spent the night. Early the next morning, the news of Wang Sheng's return spread all over Shanglin City. Along with this news was the news that Wang Sheng alone killed the Dai family's second stage guard in his own yard. Countless people's first reaction when they heard this news was that it was impossible. Wang Sheng could be considered as a celebrity in Shanglin City. Who didn't know that he was Miss Song Yan's fiancé and an ordinary person with a low-level soul essence? A low-level trash wanted to kill a second-stage master. If this wasn't a joke, then what was? Many people took it as a joke. However, there were also quite a number of people who went to the scene to check it out doubtfully, and they were all stunned. Wang Sheng didn't clean up the scene. The Dai family guard's body was still there, and so were the lime powder and pepper powder. Looking at this scene, many people who were puzzled seemed to know the answer. So it was a sneak attack with lime powder and pepper powder. With lime powder and pepper powder in one's eyes, one couldn't even use half of their abilities. If this was the case, it wasn't a miracle that Wang Sheng could kill the Dai family's second stage guard. If it was anyone else, they would probably be able to do it. The master of Shanglin Song family was sincerely glad that the dead housekeeper had done a good deed, and that was to give a courtyard to Wang Sheng. Although it was just a loan and not considered as a gift, but at least Wang Sheng seemed to treat this place as his home. As long as he was still in Shanglin City, then everything would be fine. As for the method of making snow candy, they could still think of a way. After such a big incident, the fat shopkeeper of Baoqing Yutang came to visit Wang Sheng early the next morning. When he found out that Wang Sheng was intercepted by Lu Wenho outside the city gates, he was so angry that he beat his chest and stamped his feet. Just separated by a city wall, a new business was given to someone else, which simply made him beat his chest and stamp his feet. The fat shopkeeper was very professional and didn't ask about the business details of Wang Sheng and the imperial treasury. Instead, he asked Wang Sheng to look for Baoqing Yutang if there was any business in the future. Baoqing Yutang was willing to pay a high price to buy it out. After getting someone to tidy up the residence, Wang Sheng stayed in Shanglin City for another 10 days. Just as he was about to leave, Old Fish Song came to look for him. Old Fish Song was helping Song Yin to make arrangements in advance. She didn't mention the specifics, only saying that Wang Sheng would know when young Miss arrived. Not long after Old Fish Song arrived, Song Yin appeared right after. "Wang Sheng, there's trouble." Song Yin came in, and without a second word, she rushed to Wang Sheng and said anxiously, "Fourth Master Dai has come personally. Chapter 42. The four who were killed by LV Wenho and the one who hid in Wang Sheng's room to kill Wang Sheng were all Dai family's guards. To be precise, they were 4th Master Dai's direct subordinates. When direct subordinates were killed, it was normal for 4th Master Dai to take action personally. Why aren't you anxious at all? Seeing Wang Sheng only responded with an "oh" after hearing the news, Song Yin couldn't help but feel anxious. Why should I be anxious? Wang Sheng really didn't mind it at all. 4th Master Dai, so be it. He was about to leave this place, and by then, when he burrowed into the mountains, not to mention 4th Master Dai, even if there were 10 Wang Sheng, he wouldn't be afraid. This wasn't Wang Sheng being arrogant, but Wang Sheng's confidence from the jungle survival skills which he learned on Earth. Especially after he saw the tracking skills from the Song family and Carefree City's killers. He thought of the difference between scientific methods and fumbling around blindly, which gave him confidence. It wasn't that Wang Sheng looked down on this world's aboriginals' jungle survival skills, but most of the time, the experts were amongst the commoners. The problem was, 4th Master Dai wasn't an expert amongst the commoners, but a proud, direct descendant from a high and mighty large family. No matter how high his cultivation was, he wouldn't be willing to accompany Wang Sheng in the jungle for a few months. Song Yin was so anxious that she almost went crazy. She had just found out about this news from her family's intelligence network and immediately rushed over to report, but in the end, the main character Wang Sheng wasn't anxious at all. It was probably because Wang Sheng didn't know 4th Master Dai's prowess, hence he was like this. You don't know, 4th Master Dai is already a 4th stage Rel Peak expert. Song Yin very cautiously explained to Wang Sheng. I know you can kill a peak 3rd stage 1000 illusionary venomous centipede, and can also kill an early 4th stage 1000 illusionary venomous centipede. However, 4th Master Dai is 100 times more terrifying than those 2 snakes combined. When killing the 1000 illusion poison centipede, the first one was still alright, but for the second one, Wang Sheng was already in a sorry state, as he was sent flying. In front of the 1000 illusion poison centipede's immense strength, Wang Sheng was no better than a weak egg. But that was just a 4th stage realm initial stage. How terrifying was a 4th stage Rel Peak expert? Not only is 4th Master Dai powerful, he is also smart and cruel. Song Yin was truly afraid that Wang Sheng would underestimate 4th Master Dai, so she explained in great detail, in the past 10 years, 4th Master Dai is ranked first among all the experts the 5 great clans have sent out. The number of top exponents who had died under his hands was uncountable, and there were even rumors of a 5th degree realm initial exponent being killed by him. You're just a mediocre, ordinary person. At this point, Song Yin suddenly stopped. Song Yin had arrived in a hurry and had spoken in a hurry, so she hadn't noticed the changes in Wang Sheng's body. Now that she was talking about the unconventional, Song Yin suddenly realized that Wang Sheng seemed to be a little different. His body was brimming with a faintly discernible aura. This scene was obviously a characteristic of someone who had just entered the 1st degree realm. How could it still be substandard? However, Song Yin had personally examined Wang Sheng's original soul at that time. She had also specially examined it after the event. From beginning to end, it was a second-rate remnant soul. Even if he had used the foundation pill to complete the remnant soul in the end, there was no possibility of it improving, right? When Song Yin stopped, Song Laoyu also turned to look at Wang Sheng. His eyesight was better than Song Yan's. Previously, he hadn't paid much attention to it, but now that he had taken a look, his eyes instantly widened and he was tongue-tied. He simply couldn't believe his own eyes. A second-rate original soul, which they had personally verified, actually allowed Wang Sheng to advance to the 1st degree realm. How is this possible? Song Yin and Song Laoyu were simply going crazy. How could such a thing that didn't conform to common sense and logic happen? Was there still any justice in this world? Attack me. Song Laoyu still couldn't believe his own eyes. He had to verify it before he could be sure, otherwise he would never admit what he had seen. Wang Sheng didn't reject. He clenched his fist and threw a punch at Song Laoyu. This punch was aimed at Song Laoyu's chest. However, he had only infused some spiritual energy into it and didn't use his full strength. He just wanted Song Laoyu to feel it. Bam! The punch hit Song Laoyu. After that, Song Laoyu could clearly feel the spiritual energy contained in Wang Sheng's fist. This couldn't be fake. How is this possible? Song Laoyu looked at Wang Sheng as if she was looking at a freak. Her face was filled with shock as she muttered this question. Song Yin didn't need to feel it herself. She knew that Uncle Laoyu's feeling was definitely not wrong. But at that time, she had clearly seen Wang Sheng using the origin mirror to display the second-rate original soul. Could it be that the origin mirror was spoiled? Without another word, Song Yin turned around and left the courtyard. She instructed the guards who were waiting in the courtyard. Now that Song Yin had passed the clan's refinement, her status as eldest miss had been restored. Retrieving the origin mirror was a small matter, so naturally there would be guards to do it for her. Not long after, the guards diligently found 3 origin mirrors from outside. Eldest miss didn't say how many. Naturally, she had to find a few more. Even if there was a problem with one, there would be spares. Let me see. Song Yin rushed into the house with the 3 origin mirrors and directly handed them to Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng reached out and took one of the origin mirrors. Using the same posture as last time, he held the 2 handles of the origin mirror with both hands. Then, the origin mirror began to show the pattern and color of his original spirit. After a while, the pattern of a carp appeared on the origin mirror. There was no mistake. It was no different from the last time. Wang Sheng's original spirit was a carp. After waiting for a while, the edges of the origin mirror did not change color. It was still the same color as before. Gray was the lowest grade, 1 star. White was 2 stars. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple corresponded to 3 to 8 stars. Black corresponded to 9 stars. The lack of color meant that the grade of Wang Sheng's original spirit was still second-rate. Looking at the origin mirror, Wang Sheng's original spirit was still a second-rate original spirit. But what was up with that spiritual qi attack? Could it be that a second-rate original spirit could also cultivate a spiritual qi attack? This subverted common sense. Song Yin and Song Laoyu were puzzled. Did they make a mistake? Or did Wang Sheng make a mistake? You're just a second-rate original spirit. How could you cultivate to the first stage for no reason? After changing 3 origin mirrors in a row, the result was always the same. Perhaps there was a problem with 1 origin mirror, but the probability of 3 origin mirrors having problems at the same time was too small. It was so small that it was almost impossible. In other words, what they saw was the truth. How did you do it? Song Yin asked with a trembling voice. Wang Sheng was about to speak, but Song Laoyu stopped him. When Uncle Old Fish arrived at the courtyard, he immediately gave an order to the guards who came with him. Then, the guards surrounded the entire courtyard. No one was allowed to come within 10 feet of the courtyard. After doing all this, Song Laoyu patrolled the surroundings before returning to the house. She nodded at Wang Sheng and Song Yin. What do you mean? Wang Sheng asked in more detail. Your original spirit is obviously second-rate. How could you cultivate to the first stage? Song Yin knew that her question was a little hasty. At this time, after Song Laoyu's actions, she had calmed down and asked in detail. As soon as these words came out, in the small house 3 courtyards away, the man in black with the iron pot on his head trembled. Then, he repeated Song Yin's question in a low voice. What? Achi and Big Bear were directly stimulated by the words of the black-clothed man and jumped up. They knew that if they made too much noise, the guards of the Song family would definitely be alerted, so they forcibly suppressed their shock. Aki asked in disbelief, Big Ear, did you hear it wrong? I definitely did not hear it wrong. Big Ear threw a sentence at Aki and Big Bear. Then, he ignored the 2 of them and focused on the movements in the other side. Aki and Big Bear looked at each other and saw the inconceivable light in each other's eyes. Big Ear was their partner. His original spirit was a big-eared bat. His original spirit was extraordinary, and with the help of the 2 iron pots on his head, he could hear the footsteps of ants from 20 feet away. After so many years, Big Ear had never let his partner down. Just now, Aki and Big Bear were just too shocked by what they heard, so they unconsciously doubted it. To be able to let a second-rate original spirit have the strength of a first stage, This was simply a big secret. If their family could control it, the strength of their family would increase by 10 times. Think about how many second-rate people there were in their family. More than 10 times, or even 100 times more than the number of people who could cultivate. If they all had the strength of a first stage, what kind of concept would that be? If Wang Xingning could answer, he couldn't miss a single word. Neither of them dared to disturb Big Ear, for fear that he would hear a word wrong. Song Laoyu and Song Yin were so nervous that their hearts were beating rapidly. Wang Sheng's answer could very well be the key to the Song family's rise again. They had no choice but to take it seriously. Confidence. Wang Sheng did not hide anything and said the most important part: if you believe that you can do it, then you will definitely be able to do it. Confidence? Song Yin listened to Wang Sheng's explanation and did not quite understand. She anxiously urged, "I know confidence, but how do you do it? Explain it more clearly." "This actually has something to do with me. You also know that I have never known what an original spirit is." Wang Xing thought about it and decided to reveal a part of it. He wanted to try it on Song Yin. If it worked, perhaps the clues to find the girl in his dreams would be clearer. Song Yin and Song Laoyu nodded at Wang Sheng's words. When Wang Sheng first met them, he was a greenhorn who knew nothing about original spirits. It was Song Yin who personally enlightened Wang Sheng. "It is because I have never known what an original spirit is that I do not have the fixed knowledge that you guys have instilled in me since I was young." Wang Sheng replied seriously, "I do not believe that a second-rate original spirit has no future. I also do not believe that I cannot break the rules. I believe that I can do it, so I did it." This is the power of confidence. Wang Sheng concluded and looked at Song Laoyu and Song Yin. "Do you understand?" Chapter 43. Experts all understood the importance of confidence, but it was also built on a reasonable foundation. It was definitely not an easy task for Song Yin and Song Laoyu, who had lived in this world for several decades, to understand this kind of rebellious thinking and break free from it. At the very least, Song Yin and Song Laoyu were unable to do so. The two of them had clearly sunk into a state of hysteria. Why did Wang Sheng behave so normally when it was clearly impossible? It was as if this was how things should be. Why? Similarly, Aki, who was in a nearby room, was also bewildered. Whether it was Big Ear or Big Bear, the two of them were actually Aki's assistants. They were simple-minded and did not think too much about things. However, Aki was different. She was a very intelligent woman. Otherwise, she would not have been able to maintain her position as the leader of the group of three. The problem was, the smarter a person was, the easier it was for them to go to a dead end. She had not personally seen Wang Sheng's state before, so naturally, she was not as shocked as Song Yin and Song Laoyu. However, everyone knew that Wang Sheng had an inferior remnant soul. Could it be fake? Impossible. If it was fake, Song Yin and Song Laoyu would not have reacted in such a way. However, a remnant soul could be repaired. So how could an inferior soul be upgraded? Smart people were all confused. Wang Sheng looked at Song Yin and Song Laoyu before him and knew that his words were in vain. Of course, he also understood that it was impossible for the two of them to change their minds so quickly. There were many stubborn fellows on Earth who would cling to some ridiculous ideas and die stubborn. There was no lack of such people in this world. The two of them were still in shock, and Wang Sheng did not intend to interrupt their thinking process. He minded his own business and sipped on his tea. It was not until the pot of tea had been made several times that Wang Sheng changed it to a new pot that the two of them slowly returned to normal. Song Yin and Song Laoyu were even more convinced that Wang Sheng was a disciple of some hidden clan. Ever since he met Wang Sheng, no matter if he was facing Dai Huan's killer or a mediocre remnant soul, no matter if he was facing a third-stage realm peak 1,000 illusionary poison centipede or a fourth-stage realm male snake, Wang Sheng had never been dejected or afraid. He had always been full of confidence, and this was definitely not normal. Could this be the secret of the hidden family? He did not let them come into contact with the concept of a source spirit, only instilling confidence in them. Once it was released, no matter what kind of soul it met, it wouldn't be bound by the common sense from childhood to adulthood. "How many acupuncture points do you have now?" Song Yin was young, so she was able to think faster and accept the truth faster. She was able to recover faster than Song Laoyu. Seeing Wang Sheng drinking tea in boredom, she couldn't help but ask. 2. Wang Sheng didn't hide anything and answered confidently. Only 2. Song Yin was a little disappointed. But seeing that Wang Sheng wasn't disappointed at all, she couldn't help but ask, don't you think 2 is a little less? Less? Wang Sheng saw that Song Laoyu was attracted by this question and chuckled. You have 100 acupuncture points. If you can't use spiritual energy to attack, you're still trash. I only have 2 acupuncture points, so being able to use spiritual energy is a success. What's the difference between more and less? The goal is to be able to use spiritual energy, not to compare the number of acupuncture points. Isn't that putting the cart before the horse? Song Yin and Song Laoyu were very gloomy. After being lectured by Wang Sheng, they really couldn't refute him. In the end, the number of acupuncture points was for the use of spiritual energy. The more spiritual energy. The less. Although it was rare for Wang Sheng to use spiritual energy, as Wang Sheng said, it was fine as long as he could use spiritual energy. What's the point of looking at how much? It was really putting the cart before the horse. Aki didn't move at all as she listened to Big Ear's narration. She was also thinking about it. Was the path he was pursuing previously the wrong one? Why did she only pursue the grade of the soul and the number of acupuncture points, but she neglected the most fundamental problem? No one knew where Wang Sheng came from. Only Song Yin and Song Laoyu knew that Wang Sheng fell from the sky. Everyone else was already dead. Not knowing this, Achi couldn't figure out where Wang Sheng's confidence came from no matter how hard he racked his brains. When Song Yin looked over again, Wang Sheng didn't allow her to ask questions. Instead, he asked her a question. Has your family's matter been resolved? Now that Song Yin and Song Laoyu could swagger over to Lin City, it shouldn't be a big problem. But Wang Sheng still felt that it wasn't that simple. It's peaceful for the time being. Although Song Yan's cultivation wasn't high, she had a clear understanding of herself. We have a hold on their weakness, so they won't dare to cause trouble for a while. But it's hard to say in the future. The array stones buried in the heads of the 2,000 illusion-poisoned centipedes have been found by Song Laoyu. This was solid evidence, so the Song family elders didn't dare say anything. Someone had done something to the Song family patriarch's daughter's trial. If this matter was spread out, not to mention the elders, even the emperor would have to step down. The elders who arranged Song Yan's trial had to pretend to avoid arousing suspicion even if they weren't willing. They sent people to investigate, and the elders who had conflicts with each other took the opportunity to suppress them. In short, the elders' meeting was a complete mess, but Song Yin had a firm foothold and didn't have to worry about anything for the time being. But just as things calmed down here, the other side heard that fourth Master Dai was going to personally deal with Wang Sheng. The anxious Song Yin immediately spurred her horse to rush over. Even she didn't know why. Come back with me. Song Yin remembered why she had come this time. She had forgotten to mention it before, but now she finally said it. No matter how strong fourth Master Dai is, he wouldn't dare start a massacre in the Sky River Song family. At the level of the Song family and the Dai family, no matter how rundown a family was, there would always be a few hidden experts. Fourth Master Dai had only made a big name for himself in the past few years. Even if he was given 10 guts, he wouldn't dare cause trouble in the Sky River Song family. Whether it was Dai Huan or fourth Master Dai, they only dared to bully Song Yin in a remote place like the Upper Four Song family. Song Yin was afraid of failing the trial, so she didn't dare reveal her identity. Once she revealed her identity, the trial would automatically fail. Otherwise, Dai Huan and fourth Master Dai would have to think twice. Go back with you and become a live-in son-in-law. Wang Sheng wasn't afraid to make a joke of himself and asked Song Yin with a smile. Song Yan's face turned bright red, and she lowered her head, not daring to say another word. But Song Laoyu understood that this was actually impossible. Wang Sheng was just a barbarian without any foundation. If he wanted to become the Song family's son-in-law, the difficulty was no less than ascending to the heavens. At this time, Miss didn't say anything, so he had to help her out. Go, then be a guard first. As long as you settle down in the Song family, fourth master, Dai won't dare to do anything. Song Laoyu explained to Song Yin with a smile. Wait until the limelight is over. Then we can talk about what you want to do. Fourth master Dai can't keep an eye on you for the rest of his life. Thank you for your kindness. Wang Sheng shook his head. Unfortunately, I have a mission here. Well, it's a mission. I have to find my target. Your mission? Song Yin raised her head curiously and asked, What is it? Maybe. I'm here to kill someone. Wang Sheng replied. Maybe? Song Yin became more and more curious. Why do you say so? Who do you want to kill? I don't know. A pair of beautiful eyes flashed in Wang Sheng's mind. The scene that suddenly appeared when he was parachuting and the words, kill me, seemed to ring in his ears again. But Wang Sheng still didn't know the name of the woman in the dream. Why did she want him to kill her instead of saving her or something else? You don't know who he is? Song Yan's eyes widened and asked with a little amusement. There should be a name, right? I don't know her name. Wang Sheng's answer was simple and made Song Yin speechless again. Then how do you know it's him? Song Yin asked snappily. What if I kill the wrong person? There should be something that can let you recognize her, right? Her original spirit should be a phoenix. Wang Sheng thought for a moment and answered an important question. When Wang Sheng said the word phoenix, Song Yan's pupils suddenly shrank and then returned to normal. Her whole body almost trembled. Fortunately, Song Yan's control was good. Under forceful control, her movements didn't slow down at all. Her expression was as casual as before, as if there was no problem. Wang Sheng didn't seem to notice this. He was thinking about the beautiful eyes of the woman in the dream. Beside him, Song Laoyu didn't react, as if she had never heard of it before. It wasn't just Song Yin who was shocked. When Chi heard Big Ear's word from afar, he frowned in confusion. Have you heard of a spirit called the Phoenix? Big Ear and Big Bear shook their heads. The things that Wang Sheng mentioned were things that they had never heard of before. Where have I heard of this name? Aki frowned. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't remember where she had heard of this name. But she was sure that she must have heard of it somewhere, and it must have been recorded in a very important place. I must have heard of this name somewhere. After thinking for a while, Aki still couldn't remember much. But her intuition told her that this thing was very important, even more important than Wang Sheng's lousy original spirit entering the first stage. In an instant, Aki made a decision. No, I have to go back and ask the elder. You're not following us to watch the show? Big Ear and Big Bear were stunned. It was just the name of original spirit. Was there need to be like this? But they didn't dare to reject Aki's decision. They could only say bitterly, then let's go back together. No need, you guys continue to follow us. Aki shook her head. Especially Big Ear, you have to follow them closely and remember what they said. When I get back, I'll look for you. Big Ear nodded in agreement and continued to listen to the movements in front. Big Bear looked at Aki, waiting for instructions. Go find out about Fourth Master Dai, and at the same time, leak the whereabouts of Wang Sheng and Miss Song. Gather the Dai family's men here. Chi warned, if Fourth Master Dai and the young miss of the Song family bump into each other here, something spectacular will definitely happen. Chapter 44. Whether it was Wang Sheng, Song Yin, or Song Laoyu, none of them thought that there would be such a person in this world who could listen to their conversation from 3 courtyards away with the help of the simple iron pot radar on their heads. It had to be said that there were many capable people in this world, and they were far from what a rookie like Wang Sheng, who had just arrived in this world for 3 months, could understand. It was obvious that Song Yin also realized the importance of the Phoenix. However, she directly gave Song Laoyu an order to deal with it. Uncle Laoyu, go back immediately and mobilize all the forces in the family to track down the woman with the Phoenix origin soul. When Song Yin gave Song Laoyu the order, she gave him a unique hint that only the two of them could understand. She believed that Uncle Laoyu would definitely be able to read her hint. No, I still have to protect the young miss. Song Laoyu indeed understood, but he did not immediately obey the order. Instead, he argued with Song Yin. After much persuasion, Song Yin finally made Song Laoyu accept the order. He reluctantly left Xianglin City with a dozen guards. Originally, he wanted to keep the guards, but in the end, they were forcefully driven away by Song Yin. When facing Wang Sheng alone, perhaps Song Yin could use some shameful means to answer, but if there were more than a dozen guards around instead of the most trusted Uncle Laoyu, would Song Yin still dare to use those means? Wang Sheng was also very grateful to Uncle Laoyu, but in his heart, he did not feel the same way. In this world, he was still an outsider. Whether it was Song Yin or Song Laoyu, he had not yet reached the point where he could trust them wholeheartedly. When there were only the two of them left, Song Yin clearly relaxed. When Song Laoyu and the guards were around, Song Yin had to put on the airs of a young miss. Now that there were no outsiders, and only in front of Wang Sheng, Song Yin was completely different. Fourth Master Dai is still a problem. Song Yin directly sat on Wang Sheng's bed, swinging her two beautiful legs, and said to Wang Sheng. Song Yin enjoyed this feeling very much. At least in front of Wang Sheng, she did not have to pretend. Wang Sheng had seen her at her worst, so she was very open-minded in front of Wang Sheng. This was especially true when she saw Wang Sheng's gaze on her face and body from time to time. She liked it even more. Can't we just kill him? Wang Sheng didn't think too much about it. He had a sniper rifle with a maximum shooting range of over 2,000 meters and armor-piercing bullets. A mere fourth-stage realm expert didn't pose much of a threat to him. Kill him? Are you kidding me? Song Yin didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Wang Sheng's words. She had been emphasizing Fourth Master Dai's prowess for a long time, but Wang Sheng didn't seem to have heard a single word. Easy for you to say. Song Yin was almost amused by Wang Sheng's bold idea. Yes, we don't have to worry about killing him. But have you ever thought that Fourth Master Dai has at least 100 over-top exponents by his side, and he himself is the #1 expert in the Dai family? And I can't even get close to him within 100 steps, so how are we going to kill him? Who said killing someone requires one to be within 100 steps? Wang Sheng seemed as though he had never thought of killing Fourth Master Dai face-to-face, as he replied casually. An ordinary M200 had a shooting range of over 2,000 meters, and Wang Sheng's custom-made gun barrel had an effective killing range of over 1,500 meters. Only an idiot would fight with a fourth-stage realm peak expert face-to-face. Not only Song Yin, even Big Ear, who was 3 courtyards away, felt that Wang Sheng was someone who couldn't see the situation clearly. The difference was, Song Yin quickly recalled that when she killed the third-stage realm peak 1,000 illusionary poison centipede, Wang Sheng was indeed not present at the scene, but he had dealt with the 1,000 illusionary poison centipede from afar. Could it be that he had used that powerful hidden weapon? Big Ear didn't know that Wang Sheng had such a glorious battle record and was still despising Wang Sheng for his wild imagination. This kind of barbarian who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Was it worth Aki to specially make a trip back? Can you be a little more serious? I'm not joking with you. Song Yin was so angry that she laughed. She was worried about this fellow, but he was joking with her. He really didn't know what was good for him. I'm not joking. Wang Sheng thought that he was speaking the truth, but when Song Yin misunderstood that he was joking, Wang Sheng was the one who didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Continue dreaming. Song Yin directly turned her head away, not wanting to say anything more to Wang Sheng. Song Yin was angry, and even Big Ear was amused. They had seen arrogant people, but they had never seen someone as arrogant as Wang Sheng. Wanting to kill Fourth Master Dai from 100 steps away was simply wishful thinking. Just as what Song Yin said, when Fourth Master Dai set out, there would be no less than 100 overguards, and there would definitely be a few powerful array masters. Trying to use some mechanisms and arrays to plot against Fourth Master Dai was just a fool's dream. Wanting to kill Fourth Master Dai? Seeing Fourth Master Dai from afar, it was already impressive that he didn't run away. Only Big Ear couldn't face Wang Sheng. Otherwise, he would definitely give Wang Sheng a few tight slaps to wake him up and stop dreaming. Moreover, even if I can't win, I can still run. Looking at Song Yin's expression, Wang Sheng knew that she was worried about him. There are some things that couldn't be explained, So Wang Sheng didn't bother explaining and gave Song Yin a reason to be at ease. Don't you feel embarrassed? Song Yin could tell that Wang Sheng wasn't worried at all. Although she was angry, hearing this explanation, for some reason, she felt more at ease and teased Wang Sheng. Then I'll be embarrassed if I hide in your house and become a live-in son-in-law. Wang Sheng cast a sidelong glance at Song Yin, displeased with her previous arrangement. Although it was out of good intentions, it was even more embarrassing than running away. I'm not bragging. Wang Sheng and Song Yin were also joking. I don't dare to say about other places, but in the forest, even 100 fourth masters won't be able to catch up to me. Song Yin and Big Ear didn't feel that this was Wang Sheng's confidence because of his mastery of the forest skills. They thought that he had been living in the forest since he was young, so he said this. Everyone knew that Wang Sheng was a barbarian. So was it strange for a barbarian to live in the forest? In Big Ear's heart, this was the most reasonable response. Finally, Wang Sheng had some self-awareness. However, Wang Sheng had underestimated Fourth Master Dai. Where did he think the fourth degree realm was? Did he really think that he could escape just by running faster? To put it bluntly, as long as Wang Sheng appeared in Fourth Master Dai's field of vision once, he would never be able to escape again. Big Ear had seen fourth degree realm experts, and he had seen even stronger ones. The terror of a fourth degree realm expert was not something that a pampered missy like Song Yin could imagine, nor was it something that the ignorant Wang Sheng could understand. Better be careful. Song Yin wanted to say something, but nothing came out of her mouth, so she could only exhort him. Where is Fourth Master Dai now? Wang Sheng took the initiative to ask about Fourth Master Dai's whereabouts. Even if he wanted to kill someone, he had to find a suitable sniping position. He's still in the Dai family's territory. Song Yin got the news through the Song family's intelligence network, which was similar to Pigeon Messenger, so the speed was very fast. Fourth Master Dai's movements were not intended to be hidden, so it was very easy to get the specific news. Can you find out his exact location? Wang Sheng asked again. It's best if you can find out his marching route. Are you serious? Song Yin looked at Wang Sheng and asked in an extremely serious tone. If we know his marching route in advance, won't we be able to avoid it? Wang Sheng replied in a half-joking and half-serious manner. At least this answer was more reliable than Wang Sheng wanting to kill Fourth Master Dai. Song Yin couldn't help but rolled her eyes at Wang Sheng. Don't do anything that overestimates your own capabilities. She paused for a moment before continuing. When he comes to Upper Forest City, his first stop will definitely be the valley where you killed Dai Huan. He said he's going to pay his respects to Dai Huan. For the elders to pay their respects to the juniors, based on Fourth Master Dai's character, he would definitely not be satisfied if he didn't bring some offerings, right? Wang Sheng rubbed his chin as he pondered. Your head is the most suitable. Song Yin replied cooperatively. Of course, there's mine too. But mine is more difficult. Yours is the easiest. Big Ear almost laughed out when he heard that. Song Yin was right. Only their heads were the most suitable for the job. Song Yin probably would not have thought that Big Bear had already sent news to Fourth Master Dai that Song family's eldest young Miss Song Yin was with Wang Sheng in Upper Forest City. He believed that Fourth Master Dai would definitely be very, very happy to hear this news. If the Song family's first wife's daughter was killed by Fourth Master Dai, the Song family would definitely not let the matter rest. Even if it was just an act, they would still fall out with the Dai family. If the two great families fell out, it would definitely cause chaos within thousands of miles of the two families. At that time, his own family would be able to fish in troubled waters. Aki was indeed smarter than him and Big Bear. Big Ear thought to himself. He had already thought of this step and had arranged for Big Bear to send a message in advance. Then let's go there in advance to take a look. Since they knew a place that Fourth Master Dai had to pass through, how could Wang Sheng let go of this opportunity? Let's see if there's a chance to kill Fourth Master Dai. Song Yin slapped her forehead, almost about to curse. After saying so much, Wang Sheng still didn't understand that Fourth Master Dai was not an opponent he could deal with. How could she make Wang Sheng dispel this unrealistic fantasy? Big Ear almost clapped his hands in glee when he heard this. Why else would people say that if you don't court death, you won't die? for Wang Sheng to rush to find Fourth Master Dai. If that wasn't courting death, then what was? If you want to court death, then go yourself. Song Yin was finally enraged. Her good intentions were completely treated as a joke here. No matter how much she thanked Wang Sheng for saving her life, Song Yin was also angered by Wang Sheng's overestimation of his capabilities. She angrily shouted at Wang Sheng, "Don't worry, after this matter is over, I will help you collect your corpse, if you still have bones to collect. Don't worry and go. Then I'll thank you." Wang Sheng acted as if he didn't see Song Yan's anger, and said this with a grin, preparing to set off. AI. He was speaking the truth. Why didn't anyone believe him? Wang Sheng cursed in his heart as he shook his head and sighed, tidying up the things he needed in the small courtyard. After leaving this time, Wang Sheng didn't plan on returning. It was time to find the girl of his dreams. Relying on the heavens, relying on the earth, relying on others was ultimately not as good as relying on himself. Chapter 45. In the end, Song Yin still followed Wang Sheng to the Song family's forbidden area. The value that Wang Sheng displayed had already far surpassed her expectations. If it wasn't for the fact that she couldn't make decisions in the family, Song Yin would have long wanted to pull Wang Sheng into the family. Song Yin wasn't surprised that Wang Sheng was packing his things. Wang Sheng had already clearly stated that he was going to find the girl with the phoenix source spirit. Even if Song Yin wanted to stay, she had no reason to. The Song family would help her search? This reason couldn't be said. Not to mention that Song Yin couldn't mobilize the Song family's power right now. Even if she could, the phoenix was too important. It wasn't something that Song Yin could decide on her own. When he left Upper Forest City, Wang Sheng went to Baoqing Yutang to buy a detailed map. Of course, this was just a name. In the eyes of a professional like Wang Sheng, this map couldn't be any more simple. There was no scale, the map wasn't drawn according to scale, not to mention the longitude, latitude, and contour lines. There was no need to even think about it. It was nothing more than a hand-drawn diagram of a circle on a square piece of tough animal skin. When Baoqing Yutang came out, Wang Sheng passed by a veiled woman with long legs. He unconsciously glanced at her, causing Song Yin to roll her eyes. The forbidden area was no longer a forbidden area. Without the source spirits, this forbidden area no longer had any meaning. Wang Sheng could come and go as he pleased, especially with Song Yin accompanying him. According to Song Yan's information, Fourth Master Dai's group would arrive in about 3 days. However, Wang Sheng had already arrived ahead of time to make arrangements. First, he walked around the small lake in the forbidden area. After carefully observing it, Wang Sheng looked for a suitable sniping spot in the surrounding mountains. Fourth Master Dai wanted to hold a memorial for Dai Huan, so he would definitely choose the place where Dai Huan died. That area was big enough to fit several hundred people. The target was here, so the sniping spot would be a hidden high ground that was still within shooting range. After walking around the mountain for a whole day, Wang Sheng chose a suitable place to stay. For an entire day, Wang Sheng kept circling the surrounding mountains. Song Yin was exhausted, and Big Ear, who was following closely behind, was even more exhausted. Not only did he have to pay close attention to what Wang Sheng and Song Yin were saying, he also had to track them without being discovered by Wang Sheng. All in all, Big Ear's stamina was at least double that of Wang Sheng and Song Yin. The sniping spot that Wang Sheng chose was not the highest point. Instead, it was a relatively low ridge. Behind the ridge was a small pit, just enough for Wang Sheng and Song Yin to rest without worrying about being discovered by the people at the foot of the mountain. Song Yin was baffled. Why hadn't she found the highest spot after searching for so long? If there was someone at the highest point, as long as he lowered his head slightly, he would be able to see every movement here without any obstruction. What made Song Yin even more baffled was that Wang Sheng had dug the ground in several places, as if to confirm the hardness of the soil. When Song Yin had asked, Wang Sheng's answer had been to confirm the stability of the gun frame. Song Yin was puzzled. What was this? By the time everything was confirmed and prepared, 2 days had already passed. According to the information they had received, fourth Master Dai's group would arrive by evening. As Wang Sheng and Song Yin rested and waited, Big Ear had already drawn a full stop for Wang Sheng and Song Yin in his mind. These two rookies had actually chosen that place. As long as Big Ear stuck his head out slightly, he would be able to clearly see Wang Sheng and Song Yan's every move. He would also be able to hear Wang Sheng and Song Yan's conversation without any hindrance. If fourth Master Dai's group arrived, all Big Ear needed to do was warn them, and Wang Sheng and Song Yan would be like turtles in a jar, unable to escape. Now, that fourth Master Dai had killed the Song family's young miss, and the two sides were already at daggers drawn. It was impossible for them not to fight. However, Big Ear was also startled a few times. At least 3 times, Wang Sheng seemed to have discovered something, his gaze sweeping across the area. If not for Big Ear's quick reflexes, he would have been seen. As they waited cautiously, fourth Master Dai's group finally arrived. Wang Sheng and Song Yan's attention was drawn to the small lake at the foot of the mountain. Only then did Big Ear heave a sigh of relief. Now, all he had to do was wait for Big Bear to see his secret mark and rush over to meet up with him. Even though they were hurrying along, fourth Master Dai's group still maintained an orderly formation, rushing into the Forbidden Valley with a murderous aura. It wasn't just fourth Master Dai's group that came with them. There was also a group of commoners who had been kidnapped along the way. One of them might have reacted a little too slowly or purposely delayed a little and was instantly beheaded. The corpse and head were left in the middle of the clearing, fresh blood flowing all over the ground. There were many people at the foot of the mountain, but Wang Sheng didn't think that any of them was fourth Master Dai. He had never seen fourth Master Dai before, and if he couldn't confirm that it was him, then there was something fishy about this group of people. Which one is fourth Master Dai? Wang Sheng asked Song Yin. Song Yin didn't reply this time, but looked at Wang Sheng with a strange gaze. After staring at him for a while, she gritted her teeth and asked Wang Sheng, "Do you think I can see a person's face clearly from a few li away? It's my fault." So that was the problem. Wang Sheng smiled, and with a wave of his hand, a pair of binoculars appeared. He handed it to Song Yin. "Use this to see clearly." Song Yin had actually been very curious about Wang Sheng's binoculars along the way. She had seen Wang Sheng use it a few times, and she placed it close to her eyes, not knowing what she was looking at. Now that she was finally holding it in her hands, she realized that it was made of a material that she had never seen before. Imitating Wang Sheng, she placed the binoculars in front of her eyes and was immediately shocked by what she saw. "What is this? You're holding it upside down." Wang Sheng resisted the urge to laugh and reminded Song Yin to use it the other way around. Song Yin had moved closer to Big Head just now, so of course she would see a strange scene that was zoomed out. Song Yin rolled her eyes at Wang Sheng and followed Wang Sheng's advice. She moved closer to take a look and was immediately shocked by what she saw. How is this possible? The empty ground 3 or 4 li away by the lake was only a small outline to the naked eye, but now it was clearly displayed in front of her eyes. The clothes of the people at the foot of the mountain were clearly visible, and even an old fishing net abandoned by the lake was clearly visible. What kind of sorcery was this? What's going on? What exactly is this thing? Song Yin was shocked by the scene in front of her, but she didn't dare to make a loud noise. She could only lower her voice, so that only she and Wang Sheng could hear, and asked, "How can you see so far? It's a long story." When Wang Sheng heard this question, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He pointed at the foot of the mountain and said, "You should take a look down there first and see which one is fourth Master Dai." Song Yin stared at Wang Sheng deeply, and once again placed the binoculars in front of her eyes and began to carefully identify the scene. While they were talking, Big Ear, who was on the high ground, was trying hard to listen to the contents of their conversation. When Song Yan's voice lowered again, Big Ear had no choice but to push his ability to the maximum, so that he could hear Song Yan's soft voice. As he listened, Big Ear wanted to laugh. Young Miss Song was really young Miss Song. This place was 3 or 4 li away from the empty ground at the foot of the mountain, and even if she spoke a little louder, her voice would have been blocked by the surrounding forest. How could it reach the foot of the mountain and be heard by fourth Master Dai? She really didn't know the world. However, when Big Ear heard that Song Yin could really see the scene in the empty ground, he couldn't help but be curious. Just what kind of thing could allow Song Yin to see the scene so clearly from 3 or 4 li away? Song Yin was immersed in shock and completely didn't notice that Wang Sheng had already taken out a gun from a storage ring and had set up a sniper rifle. At this moment, the scene at the foot of the mountain was completely different. In the small, empty ground, over 200 experts and several hundred commoners suddenly surged into it. In almost an instant, more than half of the empty ground was filled. Occasionally, 1 or 2 of the commoners who were forced to come here would refuse to cooperate or resist, and they would immediately be killed. The remaining people were huddled together, trembling in fear. Over 200 experts were all experts of the Dai family, and they were also the guards that fourth Master Dai had brought with him this time. What was surprising was that there were also over 20 people who looked like Dai family guards, but they actually looked like prisoners. Fourth Master Dai had received information from strangers on the way here, and he knew the whereabouts of Wang Sheng and Song Yin. However, before he hunted down Wang Sheng and Song Yin, fourth Master Dai still had one more thing to do, and that was to hold a memorial ceremony for his nephew at the place where Dai Huan had died. At the same time, he had to let everyone know the consequences of slacking off. These 20 or so prisoners were all Dai Huan's guards, because when Dai Huan died, they weren't by their master's side to protect her. At this moment, all of them were kneeling in an orderly manner on the empty ground, and they were surrounded by other Dai family experts. All of these people's faces were ashen, and they knew that they definitely wouldn't be able to escape this time. However, in the face of fourth Master Dai's tyrannical power, they didn't even dare to run away. Fourth Master Dai was the last to make his appearance. He didn't walk out, but rather, he was carried out on a massive platform by 16 experts. The platform had a circumference of about 10 feet, and there was a dazzling golden throne in the center, upon which fourth Master Dai sat. On the left side of the throne sat a beautiful servant holding a sword, and on the right side sat a servant who was in charge of brewing tea for fourth Master Dai. In front and behind him, there was an incense burner that was emitting green smoke, and it was extremely imposing. Even though they were in the middle of a rapid march, fourth Master Dai's tea was still warm. Fourth Master Dai drank a mouthful of fragrant tea in satisfaction, and stretched out his hand to pass the teacup to the servant beside him. Only then did he open his eyes and sweep his gaze across the 20 or so kneeling guards. With just this one glance, an invisible power suddenly enveloped the heads of these people. All the guards who were kneeling on the ground immediately felt as if they had been struck by lightning. They kowtowed one after another and shouted, "Fourth Master, please spare us. Spare us, fourth Master. When young Master Huan died, none of you were by his side. What use are you guards?" Fourth Master Dai snorted coldly. "Kill! Chi chi chi!" A series of whistling sounds rang out, and the 20 or so guards were all decapitated. A pile of heads rolled on the empty ground, and fresh blood flowed like a small stream, flowing into the small lake, dyeing the lakeside red. At the sniper position, Wang Sheng's crosshair had already accurately locked onto fourth Master Dai's head. Chapter 46. The bloody scene was the most shocking. Not only the commoners who were held hostage, even those top exponents from the Dai family who were still alive felt their hearts trembling. No one dared to look at fourth Master Dai at this moment. The entire open space was completely silent. Only the gurgling sound of the red clay stove beside the waitress could be heard. The Dai family's top exponents were still all right, but for those commoners who were held hostage, at least half of them saw this scene, and their legs went soft as they collapsed onto the ground. Quite a number of people's trousers were instantly drenched as they were frightened by fourth Master Dai's pressure and the bloody scene earlier. Even though they were separated by 3 to 4 miles, Wang Sheng could faintly feel the extraordinary pressure coming from that side. Fourth Stage Realm Peak was indeed terrifying. He hadn't even made a move, and just his appearance already had this kind of power. As though sensing something, Song Yin and Wang Sheng saw Fourth Master Dai's gaze sweeping towards one direction and then another direction at the same time. Luckily, the distance was quite far and he didn't see anything. Fourth Master Dai retracted his gaze and lowered his head to look at the bunch of ants. He's really an expert. Wang Sheng's eyes looked through the scope at Fourth Master Dai's face, which was as smooth as a young lady's skin. The cross ruler had already been placed in between Fourth Master Dai's eyes, and after he exclaimed in admiration, he spat out a sentence softly. What a pity! Hearing the voice, Song Yin then put down the binoculars and looked over curiously. She discovered that Wang Sheng was actually holding a long and strange-looking pipe, and on top of it was an even stranger-looking short pipe. She didn't know what he was doing. Later on, don't care how big the commotion is. Watch carefully and don't miss it. Wang Sheng reminded Song Yin, indicating for her to stare down the mountain. Song Yin's head was filled with fog. What commotion could there be? But she still obediently looked down again. After all, this binoculars thing, the first time she looked at it, she couldn't bear to part with it. Reminding Song Yin was because Wang Sheng knew that at such a close distance, Song Yin would definitely hear the gunshot first before seeing the bullet hitting Fourth Master Dai. Fourth Master Dai, would definitely be shot first before hearing the gunshot, but it would take more than a second for him to be shot. If Song Yin was alerted by the gunshot and looked over, she wouldn't be able to see Fourth Master Dai's head explode. Wang Sheng's voice was not loud, but the big ears above not only heard Wang Sheng and Song Yin's conversation, but also saw the abnormality at the lakeside. Although he couldn't see it clearly, he could at least see the red lake. In order to obtain first-hand information, Big Ear not only pushed his abilities to the limit, but he also put on 2 meticulously crafted big ears on his head. They were even more exaggerated than the little iron pot he wore in Upper Forest City, allowing him to hear sounds in the distance and in a lower volume. Crack! The clear sound of twigs snapping came from behind, but Big Ear did not even raise his head. The familiar footsteps belonged to Big Bear. He had already seen his secret mark following him. How is it? Big Bear was about to speak, but he saw Big Ear make a shushing gesture in front of him, so he quickly lowered his voice and asked. Big Ear pointed at the empty space at the foot of the mountain, while his other hand held the big ears, listening carefully to the conversation between Wang Sheng and Song Yin. They were about a mile apart, and it would be impossible without the big ears. This was already Big Ear's limit. The one with the biggest ears is Fourth Master Dai, right? Wang Sheng confirmed with Song Yin again. At this time, Song Yin had unconsciously become Wang Sheng's observer. That's right. Song Yin gave a definite answer. As she answered, her heart was beating fast. Fourth Master Dai, was so close. If he discovered them, how would they run? Where would they run to? To be honest, Song Yin was not good at being an observer. Apart from being able to confirm the target, she was of no help in measuring the wind speed or temperature. Wang Sheng had to solve the problem himself. The sniper rifle had been carefully adjusted before Wang Sheng set off. When Wang Sheng arrived in this world, he did not feel any change in gravity, so the adjusted rifle was still accurate. Looking at the temperature and humidity displayed on his military watch, he used a piece of tree bark fiber that he had just torn off to confirm the wind speed. Wang Sheng adjusted the scope briefly, then put his eyes on the scope again. Huff, huff, huff. Wang Sheng breathed heavily a few times, then held his breath. He focused all his attention on the scope, his finger on the trigger, waiting to fire. Fourth Master Dai was very satisfied with the effect of killing the chicken to warn the monkey. At least it seemed like the remaining guards were in a completely different state of mind. Not a single one of them looked lazy. This was the effect he wanted. Next, he would go after the dog couple after paying his respects to Dai Huan, and make sure they had nowhere to run. Suddenly, Fourth Master Dai felt a trace of unease, like the feeling before danger struck. Was it killing intent? Fourth Master Dai looked in the direction he vaguely felt, but there was only a quiet hill and dense forest. He could not see anything. Just by looking at it, there was at least a distance of 3 to 4 miles from the top of the mountain. With such a distance, it was unlikely that there would be any effective methods to deal with him. It was likely that some of the guards were unwilling to accept him, but did not dare to show it. They were forcefully suppressing their dissatisfaction towards him. It was nothing major. Looking at the Dai family guards, Fourth Master Dai, Si opened his mouth. Young Master Huan, just as Fourth Master Dai, Si opened his mouth, Wang Sheng also pulled the trigger. Bang! A 404 special armor-piercing bullet shot out of the barrel, flying towards Fourth Master Dai Si's head. Fourth Master Dai Si only said 3 words that he had gathered enough momentum to say slowly. After that, there was nothing else. A loud bang, and Song Yin jumped in fright. At least she still remembered what Wang Sheng had said. No matter how big the commotion was, she had to look in that direction. That was why she did not move her eyes away from the scope. Then, she saw a miracle that was hard to come by in her entire life. Fourth Master Dai Si's head, 3 to 4 miles away, suddenly exploded. Everything above the neck had completely disappeared. Fourth Master Dai Si's headless body stood upright on the throne for at least 3 seconds, before it fell forward weakly. The 2 maids beside Fourth Master Dai Si, who were carrying the sword and serving tea, were the first to react. The 2 of them let out the loudest screams of their lives. After screaming in one go, they fainted on the ground due to fear and lack of oxygen. All of the Dai family guards, apart from the 16 experts who were carrying the throne, had to watch Fourth Master Dai Si's lecture. Therefore, all of them had witnessed this scene. In an instant, the Dai family guards were in a mess. This shot didn't just bring about Fourth Master Dai Si's death. Big Ear, who had been eavesdropping behind Wang Sheng's group, was also the one who suffered the most damage. Although the M200's gunshot wasn't as earth-shattering as the Barrett M82A1's, it was still a sniper rifle after all. The gunshot was extremely loud. If one listened to it normally, they would only feel their ears vibrate a little, and then they would be fine. But Big Ear was different. He had the special ability of a big-eared bat, which allowed him to hear the tiniest sounds from afar. This caused Big Ear to push his eardrums to the thinnest and most vulnerable limit. Previously, in order to listen in on Wang Sheng and Song Yan's conversation, he had specially added 2 artificial ears to gather sound waves. Hence, Big Ear's tragedy. The result of the gunshot was that Big Ear's eardrums were directly ruptured, and blood flowed out of his ears. Fortunately, Big Ear was a killer and could endure what others couldn't. He forced himself not to cry out or make any noise. However, the ears he relied on for tracking had already been completely destroyed. Forget about hearing sound from afar. It was hard to say whether he could even hear sounds in the future. Wang Sheng had no idea that a shot had solved the problem of tracking him in the dark. After firing the shot, Wang Sheng quickly pulled the bolt and loaded a bullet. Then, he observed again, preparing to fire a second time if the first shot was ineffective. There was no sniper combat in this world, and Wang Sheng didn't have to follow the sniper rule of changing locations after one shot. Song Yin was completely incompetent as a spotter. Not only did she not help to determine the shooting parameters, she didn't even know how the shooting was done. Wang Sheng shook his head inwardly. Amateurs were amateurs. Through the scope, Wang Sheng saw Fourth Master Dai's headless corpse. After confirming that he had killed Fourth Master Dai with one shot, he was satisfied and put on the safety. A sniper's rule was to immediately retreat once the shot was successful. Even if the enemies here might not have the common sense to counter snipers, Wang Sheng would not allow himself to make unnecessary mistakes. If there was anything to say, he would wait until he had moved to a safe place. He patted Song Yan's arm, and she snapped out of her shock. She put down the binoculars and looked at Wang Sheng blankly. Wang Sheng gestured for her to leave quickly. At that moment, Song Yin seemed to have lost the ability to think. She could only follow Wang Sheng in a daze, like a puppet, and quickly left the sniper's position. Before leaving, Wang Sheng smiled the highest point where Big Ear and Big Bear were. He held the combat terminal in his hand and pressed the detonate button on it. Boom! Big Ear and Big Bear were hiding tightly. Big Bear was still helping Big Ear treat his wounds when the ground beside them suddenly exploded. The huge force of the explosion sent the two of them flying several meters into the air, and then they fell heavily to the ground. The anti-infantry mines exploded less than 10 centimeters below their feet. There were countless holes all over their bodies, and blood was flowing out of them. They couldn't be any more dead. The sound of the explosion attracted the attention of the Dai family guards. The previous gunshot had caused them to fall into a daze, but the explosion had woken them up. Dozens of people did not say a word. They pulled out their weapons in tacit understanding and rushed madly towards the top of the mountain where the explosion had occurred. Fourth Master Dai was dead. If they didn't find the culprit, the hundreds of guards would die without a proper burial ground. At that moment, everyone's eyes were bloodshot. The remaining guards directly rushed to kill the civilians who had come to them. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.